Chapter 22:10. The few of them look at each other, seeing the madness and greed in each other's eyes. Then, without waiting for a discussion, sword light flashes, and several figures whiz towards the youth by the lake. They all want to kill the youth in one strike, never giving him a chance to ask for help. However, at this time, a melodious sound of a zither fills the air. Immediately after, the few of them feel that their spiritual power circulation and movements are all stagnant. Their bodies seem to be caught by an invisible force. Boom! The flaming longsword descends from the sky, raging flames overflowing the sky. Tens of thousands of swords are like torrential rain, covering the sky and covering the sun. There's nowhere to hide. A quarter of an hour later, Lung Yumal looks at the stripped people, shaking her head and clicking her tongue. Really poor, there's only one 8th grade spiritual plant. The rest are all 7th grade. Luo Yu is fuming. I protest. I'll be the bait. Why won't you give me a chance to make a move? Lung Yumal giggles. Little junior brother, you're in charge of being beautiful like a flower. As for the rough work of fighting and killing, just leave it to me and your 6th senior sister. Luo Yu still wants to protest, but she hears Mu Yin putting away the storage ring and saying with a smile that isn't a smile, since Xiao Qi said that I'm a female devil incarnate, if I don't show the appearance of a female devil, wouldn't I be letting down your praise? Luo Yu's face collapses, not daring to make a sound, and the few people lying on the ground, all of them can't believe their eyes. You? Who are you peoples? Why can't 3 first-level nascent soul, no, 2 first-level nascent soul girls, beat them up without the strength to fight back? However, the 3 of them respond to them without any reluctance and quickly leave. Make a move to a new place. This is the principle that the 3 of them set before taking action. Otherwise, staying in one place for too long. Once their ferocious reputation spreads out, no one would dare to come and rob Luo Yu. Then wouldn't this bait plan fail? This time, the place where they put the bait is in front of the cave of an 8th grade vicious beast. Mu Yin puts a Buddha fruit into Luo Yu's arms, smiling. Xiao Qi, be good. You take this Buddha fruit and stand here. 4th senior sister, and I will be behind that stone. Don't be afraid, okay? Luo Yu felt wronged. 6th senior sister, I'm not afraid, but can I not be the bait? The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. He also wanted to be the oriole, not the boring cicada. Mu Yin and Lung Yumal responded with a brilliant smile and a resolute answer. No, Luo Yu. T underscore to this time, Luo Yu didn't hold the Buddha fruit and pretend to be melancholic and weak. Soon, a group of people descended rapidly. Their original target was the rank 8 savage beast and the Buddha fruit in the cave. Hence, when they landed and saw the Buddha fruit in Luo Yu's hand, their eyes lit up. Luo Yu was surprised to see them, because he was quite familiar with the clothes these people were wearing. The left arm was embroidered with the image of a soaring dragon, and the collar and sleeves were also embroidered with golden cloud patterns. Only students of the Dragon Ascension Academy would wear such clothes. The person in the lead was tall and slender. Although his appearance was ordinary, he had an elegant demeanor. He took a step forward and said with a faint smile, "Hello, little brother. I am Deng Wenxuan of the Dragon Ascension Academy. This Buddha fruit of yours is urgently needed by my junior sister, Su Luoi. Could you please part with it and transfer it to us?" Luo Yu blinked. Transfer it to you? How many crystals are you going to pay? These words made them startled. Chapter 22:11. A young man behind Deng Wenxuan said in an unfriendly tone, "Little idiot, are you deaf? Didn't you hear that the goddess Su Luoi wants the Buddha fruit?" Su Luoi? Who is that? Never heard of her? Luo Yu's expression grew even more innocent. But you said it's a transfer. Since it's a transfer, you naturally have to pay for it. Deng Wenxuan stopped his fellow disciples from flying into a rage. "Little brother, how much do you intend to sell the Buddha fruit for?" Luo Yu thought about it for a moment, then gave a number. Actually, the number he reported was already lower than he'd expected. He'd played the bait so many times, and this was the first time these people hadn't tried to snatch it. He was bored to death and could only act as a flower vase. So Luo Yu decided to give him a discount. However, everyone's faces, including Deng Wenxuan's, suddenly darkened. Deng Wenxuan laughed coldly. Little brother, it's said that a man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. If you don't know what's good for you, you won't have a good ending. Luo Yu looked at him suspiciously. That's the market price for an 8th grade Buddha fruit. The price I'm offering is already 30% lower than the market price. How could he be called greedy when it was already so cheap? It was simply baffling. Who would have thought that when the people across from him heard his words, they would laugh mockingly? Does this little idiot think that the Woodfern's secret realm is like the spirit medicine stores outside? Ha! Senior Brother Deng, why are you wasting words with this idiot? Junior Sister Sue is still waiting for us to bring the Buddha fruit back. It won't be good to keep her waiting. One of the more hot-tempered ones even started bossing Luo Yu around. Brat, I don't care who you are. In the Woodfern's secret realm, the strong are respected, and those with bigger fists have the final say. We gave you a chance to talk nicely to you just now, but you don't know what's good for you. Don't blame us for being impolite now. I'd advise you to hand over the Buddha fruit immediately. If you do, we might spare your worthless life. Luo Yu sighed softly, his expression a bit bleak. So you're saying you want to rob me? Seeing him like this, the others assumed that this innocent youth had finally learned fear. They all laughed out loud. However, in the next moment, the bleakness on Luo Yu's face turned into pity. There's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. There's no door to hell, but you insist on barging in. Why didn't you just obediently buy this Buddha fruit at 70% of the original price? Why did you insist on walking the path of death? TSK, TSK. Deng Wenxuan and the others were confused. Someone even mocked. This little idiot must have been scared silly. Now he's full of nonsense. However, before he could finish speaking, the sound of the zither suddenly rose, and the sword light whistled. Not long after, they were stripped down to their underpants, tied up like dumplings, and thrown on the ground. Mu Yin and the other two counted the spoils of war this time, and their smiles blossomed like flowers. Luo Yu patted her chest and said with lingering fear, "Holy shit, these people are actually so rich, truly worthy of being long-tongued students." Fortunately, they didn't choose to buy the Buddha fruit. Otherwise, we would have lost a lot. However, our relationship with Long-Tongue is quite good. Wouldn't it be bad to just rob Long-Tongue students like this? Mu Yin condescendingly looked down at the several people on the ground who were tied up like dumplings. She chuckled. So what if it's Long-Tongues? If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Those who rob others should naturally be prepared to be robbed by others one day. Don't you think so? Baidu search, UC Book League website, let you experience the latest and fastest chapters. All updates in seconds. Chapter 2212. Deng Wenxuan glared at them and roared. Who the hell are you? Since you know we're from the Soaring Dragon sect, how dare you rob us? Aren't you afraid of leaving the secret territory? Before he could finish, Lung Yuma stepped on his face and sneered. So what if we leave the secret territory? Gathering people from the Soaring Dragon sect to beat us up? How embarrassing. We've already beaten up too many people from the Soaring Dragon sect. Deng Wenxuan screamed and wanted to say something, but he heard his companion scream. Carefree team? You're from the Carefree team? How? How is this possible? How could you enter the Woodfern's secret territory? Aren't you only at the Golden Core stage? As soon as the words Carefree team came out, someone screamed in shock. Someone else was at a loss. Who is the Carefree team? What's the Golden Core stage? Senior Brother Deng, you've been traveling with Junior Sister Sue and the others, so you don't know. In this year's Deer Feast, a team from the Azure Blue world rose to prominence. Not only did they defeat all the participating teams, they even defeated the Qilin team of our Soaring Dragon sect. The person who spoke stared at Mayan's devastatingly beautiful face. Aye. How could I not recognize her just now? This face, Mayan, the one who defeated Chu Tianyu, the one with godlike support abilities, the fatally beautiful killing god Mayan. Also, his gaze then turned to Luo Yu and Lung Yuma. Raging Flames Blade, Lung Yuma. Thousand Hands God Summon Lanlu. Heavens! Why are 3 of the carefree 7 demons here? Back then, the competition at the Deer Cry banquet was carried out in a mirror. Although they could see every move clearly, they couldn't compare to the cultivator's appearance. Unless one's divine sense was especially strong, the others could only sense the general situation. Moreover, the members of the carefree team were only at the low level of the Golden Core stage. It was impossible for them to reach the nascent soul stage in a short time. They didn't even think that they would appear in the Woodfern's secret territory. The phrase defeated the Kirin team and Chu Tianyu shocked Deng Wenxuan and the others. Everyone in the Soaring Dragon knew that although Chu Tianyu was only at the Golden Core stage, his strength definitely surpassed most of the original infant stage. Even in the Dragon Ascension Academy, where elites gathered, Chu Tianyu's strength and popularity stood at the peak. This young girl, who looked less than 20 years old, actually defeated Chu Tianyu? For a moment, the expressions on their faces could be described as colorful. 2 of them were so excited that they were crying and laughing at the same time. Great God, June, I'm a supporter of the Xiao Yao team. Sob. I'm really depressed. I actually robbed my idol. I'm a loyal follower of God Yi. Everyone in Longting knows that Guru Yi has been silently supporting the carefree team. I actually wanted to attack the person my idol is protecting. I deserve to die. Great gods, please whip us again. We are willing to accept any punishment. Mu Yin, Luo Yu, and Lung Yumao. Wasn't the change in style a little too quick? How could Mu Yin and the others know? The Soaring Dragon sect had held so many Deer Feast events, but none had been as thrilling and full of twists and turns as this one. Baidu search for the UC Book League website and let you experience the latest and fastest chapters. Chapter 2213. This was especially true of Yi Liangchun, the Lord of 6 Stars who had slain the Dragon Ascension List's 6 stars. And the Qilin team, who won 7 against 10 and never lost, caused an unprecedented wave in Divine Elephant City. The carefree team in Yap Liangchun might not be famous in other parts of the Xian world, but in the Divine Elephant City, especially in the Dragon Soaring Academy, he was definitely a well-known existence. In Dragon Ascension, many people became Yap Liangchun's and the carefree team's die-hard fans. And they were fanatics. Since they were fans of the carefree team, it would not be good to tie them up like this. Mu Yin had no choice but to let them go. Of course, it was impossible to return the things they stole, but she still left some of the Qinquan bags and storage rings for them. Most of them were so grateful that they shed tears of gratitude. However, when Deng Wenxuan and the other 2 checked their empty storage rings, their expressions turned indescribably unsightly. The ground suddenly shook slightly. The soles of their shoes seemed to be able to feel the heat coming from below. However, it disappeared in a short moment. Everyone did not take it to heart. Mu Yin, however, frowned slightly. That vibration just now seemed to have changed the spiritual power in the air. What was going on? Was it just an illusion? Junior sister, what's wrong? Lung Yumao saw that her expression was strange and could not help but ask. Mu Yin frowned and said softly, I don't know, but I seem to have a bad feeling. She looked at the level 8 beast cave behind her. I'll go in and take a look, you guys. Before Mu Yin could finish, she saw Deng Wenxuan walking forward. His expression was a little ugly and humiliated. Miss June, there are many spiritual fruits in my storage ring that belong to junior sister Su Luoi. Please return those things to me. Return them to you? Lung Yumao sneered. The sky is not dark yet, and you are already dreaming. When you stole my little 7's Buddha fruit, are you planning to return it? Luo Yu nibbled on the spiritual fruit and nodded repeatedly. That's right. All of them were inhumane. Seeing that he was weak and easy to bully, they all came to rob him. The key point was that they robbed him, and they were so weak that he did not even have a chance to attack. A bunch of trash. The skin on Deng Wenxuan's face twitched, and his eyes were filled with hatred and anger. However, considering the strength of the trio, he could only swallow his pride and say, Miss June, you have been to the Dragon Ascension, so you should have heard of the name of the goddess of the Dragon Ascension. Su Lui, Mu Yin unhurriedly interrupts him. Sorry, I've never heard of it. Deng Wenxuan choked. He felt as if a mouthful of blood was stuck in his throat. Grinding his teeth, he continued, even if Chu Tianyu is powerful, he's just a golden core cultivator. But junior sister Su was a nascent soul cultivator. Furthermore, junior Su has a leaving aperture realm expert by her side. It won't do you any good to snatch her belongings. Before Mu Yin could say anything, Yu Liang Qin's protector had already come over and whispered, "Great God Jun, Su Luoyi's strength isn't any weaker than Chu Tianyu." More importantly, junior sister Su has many powerful admirers, and one of them is even at the leaving aperture stage. Deng Wenxuan chuckled, and his face revealed a bit of pride. "I believe that Miss June is a smart person and will know what to do." Mu Yin replied with an "oh" and waved her hand. It seems that this senior brother Deng doesn't like the storage ring that we returned to him. Let's just snatch it back. In any case, the storage ring is just not enough. Baidu search for UC Book League website and let you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 22:14. Saying that, he doesn't look at her and directly enters the vicious beast's cave. Deng Wenxuan simply can't believe his ears. "Junmai and you dare!" Luo Yu raises her hand, and a group of puppets rushes straight towards Deng Wenxuan. See if we dare." Watching as the overwhelming number of puppets overwhelmed Deng Wenxuan to the ground and snatch away the storage ring in his hand. Suddenly, a sword light flies over from the horizon, directly piercing through the puppets. Immediately after, more than a dozen flying silhouettes was over and land in front of them. The leader is a beautiful woman dressed in light yellow muslin. At her side, there are more than a dozen male cultivators clustered around her, each of them looking at her with fervent adoration, pity, and protectiveness. Behind them, there were actually cultivators who had just been robbed by Mu Yin and the others. Seeing this beautiful woman appear, Deng Wenxuan immediately lets out a pleasantly surprised voice. "Su apprentice sister." He suddenly points at Luo Yu and the others. "Su apprentice sister, these people stole the spirit fruits that we picked for you, including an 8th grade Buddha fruit." Luo Yu. Can this guy be any more shameless? Since when did the Buddha fruit become his to pick? "It's them. Miss Su, these are the people who robbed us. Your soaring dragon must give us justice." Su Luoyi's gaze turns to Lung Yuma and Luo Yu. She slightly raises her chin and says in an overbearing tone, "Return everything to everyone, then break one of your arms, and this matter will be considered settled." Lung Yuma holds the long blade in her hand horizontally and sneers, "Oh, here comes a busybody. Goddess Su, why don't you ask why these people's things were robbed?" Luo Yu smiles, revealing 2 cute little dimples. "Because they wanted to rob the treasures in my hands, but their skills were inferior, and they were robbed by us instead." A man standing next to Su Luoyi can't help but laugh. It's a distinguished and elegant young man. He holds a jade flute in his hand, and his purple robe is spotless, complex, and luxurious, making his whole person exude a bit of nobility. However, his expression was wanton and unrestrained, and he looked like a playboy who liked to play with flowers. However, the moment he spoke, Luo Yu and Lung Yumo, who were just laughing, tensed up their bodies, revealing expressions as if they were facing a great enemy. This man was very strong, very strong. It was probably not something that the two of them could deal with. Su Luoyi glared at the purple-clothed man who spoke. "Brother Xiao." The beauty glared at him. She was extremely charming and flirtatious. Xiao Yunchuan's brows immediately relaxed. His eyes seemed to contain autumn waves as he looked at her. But he jokingly said, "Luo Yi, don't be angry. I just feel that what they said is right." Since he had the guts to rob them, he could only admit that his skills were inferior and he was robbed instead. Isn't that right? Xiao Yunchuan's words were obviously approved by many people. Deng Wenxuan and the others revealed a humiliated expression, but they still couldn't help but argue. But they purposely lured us to rob them. Moreover, they also stole junior sister Su's spirit fruit. Su Luoyi sighed softly. "The other spirit fruits are fine, but this Buddha fruit is something that I searched for a long time. It wasn't easy for senior brother Deng and the others to find it for me. I urgently need the Buddha fruit to refine the advancement elixir. Brother Xiao. Chapter 22:15. She looked at Xiao Yunchuan with a trace of pleading in her eyes, which made Xiao Yunchuan's heart soften. All right, I'll get the Buddha fruit back for you. The other male cultivators also yelled, Miss Su, don't worry. The Buddha fruit is yours. Even if Brother Deng and the others were wrong in robbing us, they can't be so greedy and take away all the treasures. Yeah, look at those two. They're only at level 1 nascent soul. They said that Brother Deng and the others are not as skilled as them. I wonder what they're up to. How dare they be greedy for Goddess Su's things? They must be tired of living. A dozen male cultivators were filled with righteous indignation. They were determined to seek justice for the beauty. As for the two members of the Xiao Yao team and Yi Lianshan's defense that the Buddha fruit belonged to them, no one cared about them. Su Luoyi's lips curled up as she listened to the surrounding people's adoration and looked at Xiao Yunchuan, who was willing to do anything for her without any hesitation. She revealed a proud expression. In fact, she was not very talented. At least, she was not as talented as the geniuses of the Qilin team. However, her cultivation level improved very quickly. She was always among the best in the various competitions and assessments of the Dragon Ascension Academy. The reason was that she was proud of her beauty. Not talented enough? A large number of male cultivators would bring medicinal pills in front of her, just for her to take a second look at them. Not strong enough? During the competitions, the male cultivators would go easy on her so that she could advance. When she went out to train and adventure in secret realms, countless male cultivators would surround her and give her the best treasures just to get a smile from her. Xiao Yunchuan, the young master of the Xiao family in the Purple Cloud realm, was also a high and mighty figure in the southern continent. Now, he was kneeling before her and licking her feet. Su Luoyi enjoyed this kind of vanity and was unable to extricate herself from it. She only needed to show a grateful smile, and she would be able to get everything she wanted. Brother Xiao and everyone else, Luoyi is very grateful for your help today. Xiao Yunchuan was dazzled by her beautiful smile and couldn't open his eyes. He spun the jade flute in his hand. He walked towards Leng Yuma and Luo Yu. He still had a cynical smile on his face, and his tone was indescribably polite. I'm really sorry. This young master didn't want to be enemies with you. But who asked you to offend this beauty? Since it's the beauty's request, then I will definitely satisfy it. After he finished speaking, the smile in his eyes disappeared and was replaced by a cold and stern killing intent. It was different from those who looked down on the two little guys at the first stage of the nascent soul realm. Right from the start, Xiao Yunchuan had sensed a powerful aura from the two of them. It was something that could only be gained through Blade Mountain Flame, Sea Guild's combat experience. Since he was prepared to make a move, he naturally had to kill in one strike. Leng Yuma and Luo Yu also acted as if they were facing a great enemy and focused on the battle. However, at this moment, suddenly, a loud bang came from the cave. The earth shook violently. Then, a figure flew out from inside. It was accompanied by thick smoke that seemed to be the aftermath of an explosion. Cough, cough, cough. Mu Yin fell to the ground in a sorry state and coughed loudly. At the same time, he took out a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. Junior sister, are you all right? Sixth senior sister, what happened? Mu Yin wiped the black dust off her face and said in a deep voice, We better leave this place as soon as possible and head towards the core area. Chapter 22:16. There's another one, and she seems even stronger than the previous two. How interesting. Xiao Yunchuan looked at Mu Yin with interest, a smile that wasn't a smile on his face. But if you want to leave, you'll have to hand over Luoyi's Buddha fruit. Mu Yin glanced at Xiao Yunchuan. Where did this lunatic come from? As he spoke, he looked at his tattered clothes and hands covered in black ash. With a wave of his hand, he changed the clothes he was wearing. At the same time, the black ash on his body was also cleaned up in an instant. Xiao Yunchuan was about to speak, but his jaw dropped. His eyes, which had been calm and collected when he faced Su Luoyi, now seemed to have gone silly. He stared blankly at Mu Yin. Beautiful. She's too beautiful. I can't believe there's such a beauty in this world. The others also turned to look at him. Quite a few of them sucked in a breath of cold air. Mu Yin had changed her clothes and washed away the dust from her days of running around in the Woodfern's secret realm, robbing people everywhere. Just like that, her beautiful face was revealed without any reservation. Her snow-white skin was like the finest jade, without the slightest blemish. Not even a single pore could be seen. Her rippling peach blossom eyes were clear and bright, just like the Milky Way in the summer night, magnificent and magnificent. Gulp! Someone swallowed his saliva. They looked at Mu Yin, then at Su Luoi. For some reason, Su Luoi, who used to be an outstanding beauty, suddenly felt like she had become ordinary. Su Luoi stared at Mu Yin in disbelief, anger and a sense of crisis surging in her heart. Who was this woman? Why were these men looking at her more infatuated than they were looking at her? Could it be that this woman's appearance could compare to hers? No, that was impossible. Su Luoi took a step forward and bit her lip, looking pitifully at Xiao Yunchuan. Big brother Xiao, you'll help me get the Buddha fruit back, won't you? Usually, Xiao Yunchuan would have been infatuated with her and promised her everything if she had asked him in such a soft voice. But this time, she spoke for a long time, and the expression on her face was like a pear blossom. Xiao Yunchuan didn't even look at her. His eyes were fixed on the girl not far away, as if he was crazy. Mu Yin tidies up her clothes and looks at Xiao Yunchuan. Just now, you said that you want to take back whose Buddha fruit? Xiao Yunchuan suddenly came back to his senses. The smile on his face was like a blooming sun. He hid the jade flute in his hand behind his back and quickly walked towards her. Miss, you must be joking. I'm a dignified man. How could I compete with you for some spiritual fruit? The Buddha fruit is naturally yours, Mississippi. If you're lacking any spirit fruits, just tell me, and I'll definitely find them for you. I just don't know if this young master has the honor to know Miss's name. Su Luoi's face contorted as she screamed. Brother Xiao, what are you doing? Didn't you say you were going to get the Buddha fruit back for me? Xiao Yunchuan stood at Mu Yan's side before he turned around and said to Su Luoi with a beaming smile, Miss Su must be joking. This young master has tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex. How could I make a move on a beauty? What's more, it's this kind of peerless beauty. Su Luoi gritted her teeth. Xiao Yunchuan, you mean? This slut is prettier than me? Xiao Yunchuan lightly shook the jade flute and suddenly waved it in the air. Pa! Chapter 22:17. A slap lands on Su Luoi's face. Miss Su, for the sake of your beauty, this is only a small punishment. Xiao Yunchuan unhurriedly says, but if you dare to speak carelessly again and offend this beauty, don't blame me for being impolite. Oh, that's right. It's simply an insult to compare your mediocre appearance with this girl's beauty. Please don't ask such a stupid question again. Everyone's mouth can't help but twitch. Luo Yu murmurs. Can you believe that this guy was servile to that woman just a moment ago, acting like a lackey? Just because he saw that sixth senior sister is prettier than that surnamed Su, he instantly changed sides? Is this what Bai Xie calls a dog for appearances? Lung Yuma smiles and says, who cares if he's a dog for appearances or not? Looking at that pretentious woman being angered to death, I feel so good. Little junior sister is really invincible. At this time, Su Luoi is really about to faint from anger. She covers her face and looks at Xiao Yunchuan in disbelief. However, the man who was still circling around her a quarter of an hour ago, praising her to the heavens, now doesn't even bother to look at her. His eyes are unblinkingly fixed on that slut, as if he's looking at a rare treasure. Su Luoi is simply going crazy. She grabs a male cultivator next to her. You tell me, is that slut beautiful or am I? The male cultivator, who is caught, usually fawns over her in all kinds of ways and is infatuated with her. However, at this time, he stares blankly at Mayan, then looks at Luo Yu and Lung Yuma, as if he's stupid. Just as Su Luoi is about to shake him to make him speak, she suddenly hears him shout, June, Jun Mayan, Lung Yu Ma, Long Luoyu. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Xiao Yao team. Your Xiao Yao team. His shout awakens the people who were originally addicted to beauty. Xiao Yao team? Which Xiao Yao team? Idiot. Apart from the 7 devils of Xiao Yao at the Deer Cry banquet, who else dares to call themselves Xiao Yao team? Now that you mention it, that girl who's so beautiful that she doesn't look like a mortal really looks like June Almighty. My goodness. Although I've long known that the great god June is very beautiful, but it wasn't like I was looking at flowers through a mirror. I've only come to realize that she's so beautiful in person that even Su Luoi can't compare. Isn't strength the most important thing? The city-toppling, killing god. He's a sword cultivator who could even defeat Dragon Ascension's genius, Great Guru Chu. Go, go, go. Is our June Mo, Xie, only good at swordsmanship? Have you forgotten that with her musician support skills, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she can beat the entire Deer Cry banquet, or even Dragon Ascension? It's too much to say that he was beaten up. If we want to talk about a beating, it must be our Yi Liangshan, the great god Yi, Lord of 6 stars, #1 on the Ganhua Proclamation. Ahem, didn't they say that Guru Yi has a good relationship with the Carefree Squad? Every time he makes a move, it's to support Team Xiao Yao. To put it bluntly, we're all family. Su Luoi originally wanted to regain her confidence from the other male cultivators. However, after these people recognized Mu Yin and the other 2, not only did they not kneel down and lick her, instead, they directly ignored her, and just like Xiao Yinchuan, they went straight to Mu Yin and the other 2. Xiao Yinchuan looked at Mu Yin with a gentle face. So this young lady is called Jun Mu Yin. You're really beautiful, and your name is also beautiful. Su Luoi's whole body trembled with anger. Chapter 22:18. In just a split second, the number of male cultivators around her was reduced by half. As for the remaining half, they've either been robbed by Mayan and the others. Either they had never been to the Deer Cry banquet and did not know the name of the Carefree team. But even these people would occasionally look at Mu Yin with astonished and infatuated gazes. And she, Su Luoi, was such a radiant beauty. In the eyes of these men, it was as if she was transparent. On the other side, Mu Yin, who had just come out of the cave, was completely confused. Why was there suddenly a sickening psychopath by her side? Why did so many supporters of the Carefree team suddenly appear? However, when he thought of the situation he had sensed in the Vicious Beast cave, he felt a chill run down his spine. Mu Yin couldn't care so much anymore. Her face turned solemn as she said, "Fourth senior sister, Xiao Qi, we'll talk about the rest later. Let's head to the Secret Lands core area first. If we're late, I'm afraid we'll be in big trouble." Lung Yuma and Luo, you rarely see Mu Yin with such a grave expression. He immediately realized that something was wrong. The 3 of them had just taken out their flying swords and were about to leave. Suddenly, 3 rays of white light shot out from the side, heading straight for the 3 of them. Clang, clang, clang. The white light hits the trio's flying swords, but Mayan's 7 absolute swords are naturally unscathed. However, Lung Yuma and Luo, you were only using the most ordinary flying swords. After being hit by the white light, it actually broke into 2 pieces. Fortunately, the 2 of them had quick reflexes and were not injured. But because of that, their movements were obstructed. Mu Yin narrows her eyes, coldly looking in the direction of the white light. When Su Luoi saw how they had no choice but to fall to the ground, the humiliation and anger in her heart were somewhat alleviated. Seeing Mayan looking over, she slightly raises her chin and angrily rebukes. Jun Mayan, you rely on your beauty to seduce men, making them addicted to you and unwilling to lay their hands on you. But in the next moment, you snatched away all the treasures in their hands and even trampled on their self-esteem. Don't you think you've gone too far? Su Luoi's words jolted the few people who were intoxicated by her beauty back to reality. This was especially true for Deng Wenxuan and those who were robbed. When he looks at Mayan again, his gaze has already changed from infatuation to fear and resentment. Yes. So what if this woman was beautiful? Hidden under her beautiful skin was a heart as cold as a god of death. She didn't know how to act coquettishly or pitifully, making people want to protect her. On the other hand, the strong ones could casually step on men. How could such a woman be compared to Su Luoi? Su Luoi was also very strong, but she knew how to show weakness in front of men. I will seek their help and protection. They would look at them with adoration and gratitude. This kind of woman was the kind that could satisfy their vanity and let them experience self-confidence and pleasure. Feeling the scorching gazes of the male cultivators around him once again. Only then did Su Luoi's eyes regain their luster. That's right, she was the most beautiful, the focus of everyone's attention. As for idiots like Xiao Yunchuan and Long Tongue, they were just a bunch of blind people. Mayan looks at her expressionlessly. Then what do you want? Su Luoi righteously said, if you know that you're wrong, then return everyone's things and apologize to everyone. I think that all the cultivators here are big men with heroic spirit. Presumably, they wouldn't bother with a little girl like you. The corners of Mayan's mouth slowly hooked up, and if I don't want to? Chapter 22:19. Su Luoi sneered and slowly drew a delicate and slender light green longsword. She said in a low voice, Luoi has received a lot of help from all of you in the past. Since you refuse to repent, then don't blame Luoi for seeking justice for all of you. She shot a resentful look at Xiao Yunchuan as she spoke. If you have the slightest bit of shame in your heart, then don't try to seduce those men to stand up for you. You and I will fight one-on-one. If you win, you can take the items and I'll give you my Buddha fruit. But if you lose, you'll do as I said. Kneel and apologize, then return the items to the cultivators. Su Luoi's words made the male cultivators around her feel indescribably touched. Junior Sister Su is a virtuous female cultivator. So what if Mine's beauty is on par with Miss Su's? In terms of strength, character, and talent, how can she compare to our Miss Su? That's only natural. Otherwise, why would Junior Sister Su be called the goddess of Soaring Dragon? Some people who call themselves gods are really shameless. A mere first-stage, nascent soul cultivator dares to compare himself to our goddess. Su Luoi narrowed her eyes as she listened to the praises and belittling of Mayan. She couldn't help but take a deep breath, intoxicated. That sullen feeling of being suppressed by Mayan just now disappears without a trace at this moment. Rumble! An explosion sounded from the mountains in the distance. The earth trembled slightly. However, no one paid attention to these sounds at all. Battles broke out everywhere in the Woodfern secret realm, so it was normal for there to be some commotion. Mayan sighed softly and muttered, I'm afraid it's too late. Su Luoi didn't hear her clearly, but when she saw the worry on Mayan's face, she sneered. What? You don't have the guts to fight? Or are you willing to admit that you're a piece of trash who only knows how to seduce men? A die-hard supporter of the Carefree Squad spoke up indignantly. Isn't a peak nascent soul cultivator bullying a first-stage nascent soul cultivator a little too much? Moreover, this bet doesn't benefit the great god Jun at all, regardless of whether he wins or loses. The Buddha fruit originally belonged to Carefree Squad, but Deng Wenxuan insisted on snatching it from them. I can testify. Since you want to compete, shouldn't you take out enough chips as a bet? These words were just short of saying that Su Luoi was despicable and shameless, and that she had forcefully seized it. Su Luoi almost fainted from anger. How did these bastards and trash fall head over heels for her back then, allowing her to do whatever she wanted? Now he was actually standing on that slut's side, helping that slut to scold her. Su Luoi took a deep breath to suppress the rage and jealousy in her heart, and she sneered, All right, what do you want to bet? Speak. Jun Mayan, I'll let you, slut, be proud for a while. Isn't it because of your outstanding performance at the Deer Cry banquet that these idiots are infatuated with you? When they see you in such a sorry state under my hands, and how pitiful you are begging for mercy, I want to know who else a slut like you can seduce. As for beauty, Su Luoi firmly refused to admit that she would lose to others. Mayan slowly raised her head, and the curve of her mouth deepened. A bright and beautiful smile blossomed on her face. This smile was like the flowing wind and returning snow, captivating and soul-stirring. Xiao Yunchuan had already directly clutched his chest, looking like he was about to faint from being bewitched. Baidu search, UC Book League website, letting you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2220. But only Luo Yu and Lung Yuma, who are always with Mayan, know. It's over. Little sister slash sick sister is smiling like this. Someone is definitely going to suffer a calamity. They only hear her unhurriedly say, "Bet? There's no need, because right now my mood is very bad." The girl's voice is clear and melodious, like the sounds of nature, pleasing to the ears, causing people's hearts to sway. However, the words she says make everyone present inexplicably shudder. So, as compensation, give me everything you have. Su Luoi is startled, her face revealing an alarmed and angry expression. This slut has such a big tone. However, the next moment, the girl who was originally standing before them disappears. Su Luoi can be called the goddess of the soaring dragon, so naturally, she isn't a powerless waste. Almost at the same moment when Mine's figure disappears, the dark green sword in her hand is dancing like a flower. The spiritual power within her body is desperately circulating and dispersing, as if she doesn't need crystals. The surrounding temperature instantly drops, the water droplets in the air faintly condense into ice crystals, and the vegetation on the ground is instantly covered with frost. Su Luoi's supporters immediately burst into excited cheers. Jun Mayan wants to win by a surprise move, sneak attacking Goddess Su. The idea is good, but unfortunately, she underestimated Goddess Su's strength. How could a first-rank nascent soul break through this kind of frost sword net defense? Just as they are talking, suddenly, there's a crisp "pa" sound in the air. Everyone still hasn't reacted to this sound. All of a sudden, Su Luoi staggered a step to the side, and an obvious palm print appeared on her left cheek. The male cultivators who were just praising Su Luoi suddenly feel like they've been ruthlessly slapped. They can't make the slightest sound. Su Luoi covers her face in disbelief, not daring to believe that she had just been slapped. Jun Mayan, how dare you? Before she could finish, there's a "pa," the second slap. Two distinct red palm prints appear on Su Luoi's fair cheeks. They're symmetrical, bright, and very eye-catching. Moreover, these two slaps are obviously very heavy, so it doesn't take long for both cheeks to swell up. After being slapped twice, Su Luoi felt dizzy and her vision blurred. Her face was burning with pain, but what drove her crazy was not the pain in her body, but the sullen feeling of being humiliated in public. "Bitch, come out if you have the guts. I'll kill you. I'm going to tear you to shreds." The sword in Su Luoi's hand danced crazily. Frost filled the sky as countless sword lights weaved into a sword net. Even a mosquito would not be able to pass through such a dense net of swords. However, right at this moment, 7 colorful rays of light suddenly bloomed out of nowhere. They surrounded Su Luoi's body. Every ray of light transformed into a sword of the same color and slashed at the frost sword net. With each slash, Su Luoi took a step back with a pale face, and her expression grew increasingly unsightly. How could this be? Isn't that slut only at the first stage of nascent soul? How could it possess such powerful spiritual power? How could he have mastered such exquisite swordsmanship? How could there be such a mysterious and unpredictable movement technique that he couldn't even catch? What Su Luoi couldn't believe was Jun Mayan's domain. Almost as soon as the battle began, the starry domain was silently released. In the beginning, Su Luoi simply didn't put the domain of a little girl at the first stage of nascent soul in her eyes. Baidu search, UC Book League website, letting you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of them updated in seconds. Chapter 22-21. She hasn't been able to activate the domain. But in fact, when the disparity in cultivation is too great, the domain is just a useless existence. It can't reverse the situation of the battle. But soon, Su Luoi finds out that the reality is the complete opposite of what she imagined. In Mayan's domain, her ears have been echoing with the faint sound of the zither. From faintly discernible at the beginning, it's now incomparably clear. As the sound of the zither becomes louder and louder, the circulation of spiritual power within her body begins to slow down. Her five senses, speed, strength, everything is constantly declining. Finally, there's a loud clang. Su Luoi's impenetrable net of swords is broken, and she spits out a mouthful of blood with a deathly pale complexion. Almost at the same time, the seven colored swords combine into one, turning into a sparkling and translucent longsword. The seven absolute swords carry an austere, bone-penetrating chill as they directly strike Su Luoi's face. She widens her eyes in horror, her whole body stiffens, and she opens her mouth to scream, but she can't make a single sound. Could it be that she, Su Luoi, Ziyunjie's #1 beauty, self-proclaimed, the soaring dragon goddess, is going to die in the hands of this little slut? However, the seven absolute swords stop only an inch away from her. Su Luoi's legs tremble, and it's only after a long while that she comes back to her senses in shock and fear. She screams, "Junmayan, you slut!" Slap! A slap is thrown across Su Luoi's face. She staggers from being flung away and is pulled back by an invisible force. Then, slap, 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 slap. The sounds, as dense as raindrops, reverberate in everyone's ears. Apart from the sound of the slap, it's so quiet that you can hear a pin drop. Occasionally, some of them would swallow their saliva with difficulty and touch their faces in fear. She obviously wasn't hit, but why does it feel so painful? Finally, the pitter-patter of the rain stopped. Mayan loosens the pull on her hand, and Su Luoi directly collapses to the ground. In her face now, even the word appalling wasn't sufficient to describe it. Saying that she's a pig's head is an insult to a pig's head. Even Deng Wenxuan and the others, who adore Su Luoi the most, can't help but feel their scalps go numb, and they retreat a bit. Then, everyone's eyes turn to Mayan, and their eyes carry the fear to see a devil king or a monster. Damn it. This is the fatally beautiful killing god. This was a she-devil. It was even more ferocious than the legends. More people had a deeper understanding of the strength of Junmayan and the unfettered seven devils. With the strength of a first-stage nascent soul cultivator, he was able to beat a peak nascent soul cultivator. Who would believe such words? Only the obsession in Xiao Yunchuan's eyes is deeper. He looks at Mu Yin as if he can't wait to kneel down and lick her shoes. As for the soaring dragon goddess who had been beaten into a pulp, Xiao Yunchuan didn't even bother to look at her. Mu Yin swings her aching hand and glances at Chunda and the others who had just rushed over. Go collect the spoils of war quickly. Chunda, oh. Thus, the 6 people from the Green Tooth sect, along with the newly joined young lady, Li Xiuxiu, quickly ran to the unconscious Su Luoi and started to tear off her clothes and search for her belongings. Indeed, from top to bottom, from inside to outside, apart from the worthless clothes, not a single piece of clothing was left out. To say that it's like plucking feathers from wild geese is an understatement. And the movements of Chun Da's group of 7 are really too familiar, like they're used to doing this kind of finishing work. Chapter 22-22. When she was done, she ran to Mu Yin. Great God, Jun, please take a look. There are a total of 3 storage rings. We'll talk about that later. Mu Yin frowned, feeling the strange energy fluctuations in the air. Her eyes were filled with worry. But before she could say anything, a rumbling sound came from the distance. The sound this time was different from the explosion that sounded like before. It was the sound of countless people trampling on the ground. A peak nascent soul cultivator beside Xiao Yunchuan suddenly bent down, ear to the ground. Not good. He jumped up, It's a beast tide, a large-scale one. Young master, we must leave immediately. Xiao Yunchuan's face darkened. The surrounding cultivators panicked. A beast tide? How could it be? I've never heard of a beast tide in the Woodfern's secret realm. Quick, get on the flying treasures. We have to run. Everyone was in a mess, but the rumbling was getting closer and closer. Cultivators' screams, cries for help, and the roars of wild beasts could be heard. Sixth senior sister, Luo Yu and Lung Yuma looked at Muyin. Muyin looked at her feet and shook her head. It's too late to enter the core area now. We have to act accordingly. She raised her hand, and the Tian Mo Qin turned into a huge seven-ju sword. Muyin waved her hand, and the three of them, including Chunda and the rest, jumped onto the sword. The seven-ju sword slowly rose into the air, but it didn't fly too high, nor did it run like the other cultivators. As it turned out, Muyin's decision was completely correct. After a few breaths, a huge shadow appeared in the sky. The shadow was hovering in the clouds, and when it sensed someone rising into the air, it opened its mouth and bit down. Ah! The cultivators who flew the highest and ran the fastest in the sky let out miserable screams as their bodies were directly bitten in half by something. Fresh blood fell from the sky like a beautiful rain of blood. Chunda and the rest were so scared that their stomachs trembled. What? What is this? How? How could there be such a monster in the Woodfern's secret realm? Everyone's frightened and bewildered eyes looked towards Mayan. As early as when there was no change, Mayan's expression was not right, and she kept urging them to hurry up. Little junior sister, do you know something? Muyin looked at the monster in the sky, as well as the ferocious beasts that were rushing over like a tide from afar, and his expression became serious. It's just a kind of perception and intuition. Just now, there was a change in the spiritual power fluctuation in the air. There's a great sense of danger in my heart, and it's urging me to immediately leave the outer region of the secret realm and enter the core area. In fact, Muyin lied. She did feel that something was wrong. However, Qi Huang was the one who told her to enter the core area immediately. When she first felt the energy fluctuations, Muyin entered the vicious beast cave. Actually, it was not about what was in the vicious beast cave. Instead, it was Qi Huang who had strongly requested her to enter the cave. Under the cover of the ferocious beast's aura, she would release him so that she could sense what this hair-raising energy fluctuation was. Muyin can't dissuade Qi Huang. Plus, she's really uneasy in her heart. So in the end, he agreed. When Seven Brilliance sensed it, his expression changed drastically. Someone is using all the living beings in the outer perimeter of the secret realm as sacrifices. Chapter 22-23. It's either to break the barrier or to set up a great formation. But no matter what, I'm afraid that 99% of the creatures in the Woodfern's secret realm won't survive. Mayan's expression changed. How many cultivators are there in the Woodfern's secret realm who would be so deranged as to use so many creatures as sacrifices? What does he want? What do we do now? Will we be safe once we enter the secret realm's core? Qi Huang gritted his teeth. He dares to play such tricks right under my nose? Just you wait, I'll twist his dog head off right now. As he spoke, the youth's long black hair fluttered without any wind. His phoenix eyes seemed to be stained with blood. They were a striking red, but all emotion had faded away, leaving only a bottomless desire for slaughter. The black mist seemed to be pouring out of Qi Huang's body, causing the earth to tremble. Mine felt as if something was clutching her heart. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. She instinctively didn't want to see Qi Huang like this. She didn't want him to continue like this. With that in mind, Mayan took action. The Tian Mo Qin appeared in her hand, and her slender fingers plucked at the strings. The ear-piercing sound of the Qin turned into sound waves that surged towards Qi Huang, colliding with the black mist gushing out of his body. However, as soon as the black mist came into contact with the sound waves, it seemed as if it had found a delicious meal and began to devour it. In fact, They even greedily rushed in Mu Yan's direction, as if they wanted to swallow her whole. Qi Huang! Mine shouted, "Stop!" Qi Huang turned a deaf ear, but the corners of his mouth hooked up in a sinister smile. Seeing that the black mist had already wrapped around the Tianmo Qin, Mayan felt as if the spiritual energy in her body was being attracted by something, showing signs of surging out. Mayan clenched her teeth, and her fingers abruptly changed from playing the qin. This time, it wasn't the harsh sound of metal clashing, but the tinkling of a child's tune. Qi Huang, who had a devilish look on his face, suddenly stiffened, then began to tremble uncontrollably. Even his facial expression kept twitching, as if he wanted to cry, but also as if he wanted to laugh. The black mist that had already wrapped around Mayan trembled violently, as if it was unwillingly retreating. Qi Huang's voice is filled with anger and sobs. "Jun Mayan, bastard! You actually dared to do this to me. To me? Ha! Stop! Stop! Jun Mayan! Ah! That's right!" This cheerful and childlike tune was Seven Brilliance's itchy meat set meal. Lord Artifact's spirit hated it the most. There was no other. Muyan looked at Qi Xiaohuang, who had clearly returned to normal, and heaved a sigh of relief. She stopped what she was doing and snappily said, "Hurry up and return to the space. Do you really want to be discovered?" Seeing that Qi Huang still wants to refute, Mayan narrows her eyes and plucks the strings with her fingers. Qi Huang immediately became listless, saying indignantly, "Jun Mayan, remember this for me. Don't worry. I remember how many crystals you owe me." Mu Yin said unhurriedly, "So Qi Xiaohuang, before you pay off the debt you owe me, you better not cause trouble for me and bring about your own destruction." As a result, Mu Yan's humiliation turns into anger, and the helpless Qi Huang explodes, directly blasting her out of the vicious beast cave. Of course, Seven Brilliance eventually returned to the space. However, as soon as he entered the space, the bristling expression on his face disappeared. Baidu searched the UC Book League website, allowing you to experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 22-24. Lowering her head to look at her hand, a black mist slowly gushes out from her palm. Qi Huang fiercely clenches her hand, her nails digging into her palm. She softly says in a low, husky, and resolute voice, "I don't care who you are, but if you dare to hurt mine again, I will make you die a very ugly death. Little junior sister, what should we do?" Lung Yuma's voice is accompanied by mournful screams, pulling Mayan back from her thoughts. She comes back to her senses, and her eyebrows fiercely jump. Because of the monster that can swallow people in the sky, a lot of cultivators have landed their flying magic weapons on the ground. They plan to rely on their legs to escape. But who knew? They haven't even taken 2 steps when the ground starts to bubble. The originally solid ground, in the blink of an eye, turns into a muddy swamp. Several cultivators simply don't have time to react and are directly swallowed by the swamp. Those cultivators who are cautious and don't completely land on the ground, but choose to fly at a low altitude, they're just rejoicing at their wisdom. Suddenly, the tip of their noses smells a fishy stench. Immediately after, their whole body feels itchy and stinging. They frantically scratch, watching in horror and despair as their skin festers all over their body. Finally, they fall from their flying swords and are swallowed by the swamp. Apart from the cultivators, there are also those frantically running vicious beasts that can't escape. It's very clear that the beast tide's outbreak isn't because the vicious beasts want to kill people. Rather, the vicious beasts instinctively feel danger and want to escape. However, their endings are incomparably tragic. Apart from those that can fly, the other vicious beasts are all swallowed by the swamp without exception. In the air, cries full of despair and resentment echo. The beast tide that just made everyone run for their lives in fright collapses and disintegrates in a short moment. This scene makes Chunda and the others pale in fright. Their legs tremble, and they almost faint. Mine and the other two are also in a bad mood. Even if these people are strangers that they met by chance and have nothing to do with them. But watching so many lives being cruelly swallowed in front of their eyes. No one can remain indifferent. Who is it who could actually think of such a deranged way to sacrifice living beings? What is his purpose? 6th Senior Sister, the poisonous gas is spreading. Luo Yu screams. Sure enough, the dark red gas was like countless venomous snakes as it coiled around them. One only needed to look at the cultivators whose bodies were festering to understand the consequences of coming into contact with these poisonous gases. Chunda and the rest were scared out of their wits. However, some cultivators soon discovered a way out. Poison avoidance pill. The poison avoidance pill can resist this poisonous marsh. This discovery allowed everyone to grasp a glimmer of hope amidst their despair. Everyone took out the antidote pills they had prepared and swallowed them. As such, even if he came into contact with the poison smog, he would still be safe and sound. However, it was too early for everyone to feel at ease. This was because the poison avoidance pill lost its effect after a quarter of an hour. On the contrary, more and more poisonous gas emerged from the swamp. Like a thick fog, it completely enveloped the area in front of them. One would not even be able to see several meters in front of them. What was even more frightening was that even the spiritual energy in the air was being devoured bit by the poisonous swamp. If this went on, the poison prevention pill would be used up when the spiritual power in the air completely disappeared. How could these people still have a chance to live? Just then, there was suddenly a tinkling sound from below, like that of a wind chime. Baidu Search, UC Book League website, allowing you to experience the latest and fastest chapters, all updates in seconds. Chapter 22-25. Immediately after, a purple light flashes and spreads out. In the center of the light is Su Luoi, holding the purple bell. She woke up at some point. The swelling on her face still hasn't completely subsided. There's still fear in her eyes, but there's even more complacent resentment as she glares at Mayan. Around her, there's a lot of cultivators surrounding her, like stars surrounding the moon. Among them are her admirers, Deng Wenshuan. The strange thing is when the poison smog from below spreads up and touches the ring of light emitted by the purple bell. It's actually impenetrable. In other words, the people inside the purple bell's light cover are safe. That's the 9th grade spirit tool, Purple Gold Bell. I heard that the Purple Gold Bell can block a tribulation-passing cultivator's attack, confuse the enemy's mind, and form a spirit power cover. It can even resist 100 poisons. Great, with the Purple Gold Bell, we can be saved. Save us, Miss Sue. Let us enter the Purple Gold Bell's spirit power cover. The surviving cultivators in this area all rush towards Su Luoi's side. Each and every one of them look at her with hope. Su Luoi touched her face, which was still stinging from the pain, and swallowed a pill to heal her external injuries. Then she grins maliciously. You want to hide inside my purple gold bell? Sure, as long as each of you curse that slut. She points at Mayan, her eyes glaring at her, as if she's itching to peel off her skin and tear apart her bones. The smile on her face becomes more and more arrogant. Whoever curses that slut more viciously will be able to enter the purple gold bell first. The group of cultivators look at each other. Soon after, someone curses without hesitation. Smelly whore, son of a bitch, you're even more lowly than a sewer rat. A dog is uglier than a woman. I feel like my eyes are dirty just by looking at you. How can a trash like you be compared to Goddess Su Luoi? You're not even fit to carry the goddess's shoes. A trash like you should be thrown into the lowest brothel, to be ridden by thousands of people. If Goddess Su is a celestial being, then you're the dog shit on the ground. Su Luoi laughed heartily and pointed at the people who were cursing the most viciously. You, and you. You can come in now. The people who were selected were instantly overjoyed, and all of them entered the purple gold barrier with faces full of joy. When the others saw this, they immediately cursed even more fiercely. Luo Yu and Lung Yuma's faces were getting uglier and uglier. They could barely suppress the killing intent in their bodies. These dregs dared to insult little junior sister and 6th senior sister, courting death. However, before the two of them could do anything, they were stopped by Mu Yin. 6th senior sister, that bastard woman let people scold you like that. How can you tolerate it? Luo Yu was hopping mad. Mu Yin faintly laughed. Don't worry, if I want to collect the debt, of course I have to collect it together with interest. If I don't make them go bankrupt, then I'm not called Jun Mayan. Seeing the smile on Mu Yan's face, Luo Yu and Lung Yuma's murderous intent and anger instantly disappeared. In his heart, he lit a candle for Su Luoyi and her supporters. Do you really think that the scariest demoness of the unfettered 7 devils is someone that can be easily provoked? On the other side, the poison smog was spreading faster and higher. In order to survive, many cultivators had no choice but to curse Mu Yin even if they were unwilling. In the end, they were placed inside the purple gold barrier. Chapter 22-26. Not long after, in this area, only a few loyal members of Yap Liangshin and the Carefree team were left who didn't enter the purple gold shield and scold Mu Yin, as well as Xiao Yunchuan and the others. Su Luoyi looked at Xiao Yunchuan, who was constantly taking pills. Her eyes flashed with resentment, but she was even more complacent. Xiao Yunchuan, don't you want to live? As long as you are willing to call that slut ugly, I will let you enter my purple gold bell. How about it? Xiao Yunchuan threw a poison prevention pill into his mouth, gently twirled the jade flute in his hand, and opened and closed his mouth. Ugly. However, these 3 words did not calm Su Luoyi's anger. Instead, it caused her face to contort, because when Xiao Yunchuan said this, his eyes were clearly looking at her. This scoundrel was calling her an ugly freak. Xiao Yunchuan, do you want to die? Su Luoyi shrieked. There will come a time when you run out of medicine. At that time, you will be corroded to death by the poison smog. Xiao Yunchuan's subordinate said worriedly, Young master, we don't have many antidote pills left. Xiao Yunchuan curled his lips. Being corroded to death by the poison smog is better than being poisoned by this ugly monster. With that, he takes a step forward, and the flight-type magic weapon rushes in front of Mu Yin. Xiao Yunchuan has a gentle and elegant smile on his face as he moves closer to Mayan. He takes out the antidote pill in his hand. Yin Yin, do you need an antidote pill? I have here. The Tian Mo Qin in Mu Yan's hand tilts and directly smashes Xiao Yunchuan's head, pushing him several meters away. The voice said faintly, Who are you calling, Yin Yin? Of course it's you. Xiao Yunchuan's eyes were full of stars, a beautiful face like jade. A glance can topple a city. That's Yin Yin. Slender fingers gently pluck the strings. Mu Yin looks at him with a smile that isn't a smile. Say it again if you have the ability. Xiao Yunchuan groaned and retreated with a face full of grievance, like a little wife who had been bullied. It makes Mu Yin feel disgusted. Xiao Yunchuan's men also turned their heads and asked, Who is this? It was definitely not their young master. They did not know him. Su Luoyi, on the other hand, was trembling with anger. But immediately, seeing the poison smog spreading towards Mayan and the others, a sinister smile appears on her face. Haha, Jun Mayan, did you see that? The poison smog has already spread to your side. Soon, your skin will be corroded by the swamp, and you will become an ugly monster from head to toe. Do you want to live? If you want to live, kneel down and kowtow. Admit that you are a slut, a piece of trash, and an ugly monster. If you do that, I might consider letting you hide inside the purple gold barrier. Ha! Deng Wenxuan, who was standing beside Su Luoyi, also sneered. He looked at the people gathered around Mu Yin and said, And you guys, why are you still with the Carefree team? Did he really want to be swallowed by the poisonous swamp? If you obediently curse that bitch, you can live. Are you really not going to consider such a good deal? A few of them revealed hesitant expressions. Looking at Mu Yin and the other two, they gritted their teeth and endured. A few of them were filled with righteous indignation. Dream on? Even if I die, I will never insult my idol. Chunda and the others were so afraid of death. But now, there wasn't even a trace of hesitation. They even took out all the poison avoidance pills they had on them and handed them to Mu Yin. Great God Jun, take these poison avoidance pills and quickly go to the secret territory's core area. He had just heard Mu Yin say that they must hurry to the secret territory's core area as soon as possible. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 22-27. So, they guessed that this place wasn't safe, but as long as they entered the core area of the Woodfern's secret realm, they would be safe. Mayan, Luo Yu, and Lung Yumal looked at them in surprise. But there wasn't a trace of struggle or hesitation on their faces. After a while, Luo Yu said, "If you gave us the poison prevention pill, you would have died." Chunda smiled. "If it wasn't for the three bosses, we would have died at the hands of the Blood Hands jackals." Everything they had seen and heard in the secret realm was legendary and carefree. Even if they died here, they would have no regrets. The poison smog was getting closer and closer, almost wrapping around Da's body. But his first reaction wasn't to run away in fear, but to anxiously hand over the poison prevention pill. But the pill wasn't given out yet. Chunda sees Mayan stretch out her hand, and with a snap, she sticks a talisman on his body. Then, there was a clap. In the blink of an eye, all the cultivators around Mayan, including Xiao Yinchuan's group, were stuck with talismans. Spiritual power surged, and the talismans burned. In the next moment, a miraculous scene appeared. The burning talismans formed a small circle of light surrounding the cultivators. And this circle of light was like the purple gold bell's spiritual power barrier. It actually blocked the dark red poison smog outside, unable to enter. No, it wasn't just unable to enter. When the dark red poisonous gas came into contact with the light of the burning talismans, it was as if they had encountered something terrifying. It was as if they had bumped into something terrifying, and they were pushed back a few meters. Because everyone around Mayan had a burning talisman on them. For a moment, a pure land was cleared in front of them. Not only did their vision recover, but the surrounding spiritual power also showed signs of recovery. Chunda looked at the talisman on his left shoulder, then at the poison smog that had retreated a few meters. He looked at Mayan with joy. "Boss, this talisman can actually repel the poison smog? What kind of talisman is this?" Mayan slowly stuck talismans on herself, Luo Yu, and Lung Yuema. Then she tidied up Luo Yu's somewhat messy clothes and said indifferently, "6th grade variant soul lock talisman. It can expel all kinds of sinister energy, including demonic chi." She had guessed that the poison smog was a poisonous gas. However, it was actually more like a special energy amalgamation. Even the man-devouring monster in the sky was the same. This energy was caused by a sacrificial formation activated by someone in the core region of the mystic realm. As long as it was energy, evil and sinister energy, there was nothing that her mutated soul-locking talisman could not expel. 6th grade mutated spirit-locking talisman? Someone exclaimed, Isn't it only available in the #1 shop in the world?" It was the talisman drawn by Great God Yi, right? Muyin didn't answer their question, but she also didn't deny it. Not answering was equivalent to tacit agreement. Oh, you're really worthy of being my Great God Yi. Only the talismans drawn by her would have such a heaven-defying effect. Get lost. We should be thanking the Great God June and the others. The soul-sealing talisman was given to us by June Mosia. Mayan waves her hand. "Let's go. We need to hurry to the core area of the secret territory as soon as possible. Everything should still be normal there." This sentence made everyone even more ecstatic than taking out the soul-locking talisman. The core region of the mystic realm is normal? This meant that as long as they crossed the entire outer perimeter, they would have a chance of survival. Chapter 22-28. The dejection and despair on everyone's faces were swept away at this moment. Each and every one of them circled around Mu Yan's group, carefully steering their flying swords in the direction that Mu Yan had pointed. Before they left, two little girls suddenly turned around and made faces at Su Luoi. They said with disgust and ridicule, "Ugly freak. White-faced woman, didn't you say we were going to be poisoned to death? What a pity. We in the Jun family are still alive and well." Su Luoi looked at their departing figures with a twisted expression and gritted teeth. The purple gold bell in his hand couldn't help but tremble. She thought that she would see Jun Mayan and the group of bitches who follow her being corroded by the poison smog, their intestines and stomachs rotting, dying without an intact corpse. But who would have thought that Mayan would have Yi Liang Chen's mutated talisman? Damn it! Damn it! Junior sister Su, don't worry. Deng Wenxuan suddenly sneered and said, "I know that the mutated soul-locking talisman from the #1 shop in the world is indeed heaven-defying and powerful, but the problem is that it can only last for an hour at most. After an hour, they will still die." Su Luoi's eyes immediately lit up. Deng Wenxuan continued, "Moreover, this is the mutated talisman from the #1 shop in the world. Let's not talk about the price. It's extremely difficult to purchase. I'm afraid that Jun Mayan has already taken out all the talismans she has on her." This idiotic woman. If she didn't try to be brave and used all the talismans on herself, she might still have a chance of survival. But she actually used talismans on that group of useless idiots. Just watch, in an hour, she will die very miserably. Su Luoi revealed a carefree expression when she heard this. "Come, let's follow them. She must personally see that slut, Jun Mayan, corroded by the poison smog, her entire body festering and ugly." Deng Wenxuan also said excitedly, "Let's hurry to the Secret Realm's core area. It's definitely safe there." However, just as she was about to leave, she realized that something was amiss. This was because there were too many people standing within the purple gold bell's spiritual energy barrier. Once the sword flew, the spiritual energy fluctuations would clash with the purple gold bell's own energy. It wasn't that the spiritual energy barrier would disappear, or that he wouldn't be able to fly. Instead, Su Luoi's spiritual power consumption would increase exponentially. Feeling that more than half of her dantian was empty, Su Luoi became anxious and roared, "All of you, get out. Hurry up and half of you get out." However, it was not easy for these people to get in. Moreover, he's someone who's dead set on offending the female devil, Jun Mayan. How could he be willing to leave the protective shield and throw away his life? None of them took Su Luoi's words seriously. If not for Su Luoi's soul imprint on the purple gold bell, no one would be able to control it. They had already snatched the items. Su Luoi was so angry that her entire body was trembling, but there was nothing she could do. In the end, he had no choice but to continuously take Restore Spirit pills to replenish his spiritual power. However, the pill would accumulate in the body, especially when taken in such a violent way. This kind of pill poison was something that even a pill like the water element pill could not expel. Therefore, her future progress in cultivation would definitely be affected. Su Luoi had originally wanted to resist and even refused to move forward. Who would have thought that the cultivators who had been so kind to her and begged her in every possible way would now reveal their ferocious fangs? If she dared to not move forward, these people would definitely kill her. They might even torture her to death. Even Deng Wenxuan and the others were silently standing to the side, not having the slightest intention of helping her. Chapter 22-29. In the end, Su Luoi, who was afraid of death, had to compromise. While taking the pills, she used her spiritual power to activate the purple gold bell and quickly flew towards the secret territory. But soon, the madly angry Su Luoi's face showed a smile. Because after flying for a while, they caught up with Mu Yan's group. At this time, half an hour is almost up, and the talismans on Mu Yan's group are gradually dimming. The poison smog, which they couldn't avoid, is once again entangling them. Suluoi felt that her sullen mood on the way here suddenly became indescribably comfortable. At this moment, the only person she hated the most was Junmu Yin. That kind of hatred. Even Xiao Yunchuan, who had fallen in love with someone else, and the cruel and unscrupulous male cultivators around her couldn't compare. Seeing that Mu Yin was about to be entangled by the poison smog, Suluoi stopped and laughed shrilly. Junmu Yin, without you Lianshan's mutated talismans, let's see how you can still be arrogant? Ha! I'll see with my own eyes how this poison smog turns you into an ugly monster. When that time comes, don't cry and beg me to let you hide in my purple gold bell. Chunda and the others around Mu Yin all showed expressions of fear and guilt. The few girls were almost crying. God June, you gave us so many talismans, but now you don't have any. Keep those talismans for yourself, and you'll be able to escape with your life. The little girls hadn't finished crying when they heard the languid voice slowly say, "Who said I don't have any talismans?" As soon as the voice fell, Mu Yin turned her wrist. The next moment, a thick stack of yellow talismans appeared in her hand. Gulp! Someone swallowed. What talismans are these? Don't tell me these are all mutated soul-locking talismans? Oh my god! How many mutated soul-locking talismans are there? Is there 100? I've long heard that the relationship between the Xiao Yao team and God Yi is not shallow, but I didn't expect it to be this close. Mutated talismans are hard to find in the Tianguang ruins, but God Jun casually took out a stack. It's a big stack. Lung Yuma and Luo Yu, who were at the side, chuckled. A group of foolish mortals. These talismans were drawn by Junior Sister. Now little Junior Sister's talisman drawing level was getting higher and higher. This kind of mutated talisman could be drawn out easily in 2 hours. How could it not be a lot? If these people saw the carefree squad using mutated talismans as a footrest, they would know that a stack of 100 talismans was nothing. Mu Yan's gaze swept across everyone around her. I have a lot of mutated soul-locking talismans on me. It won't be a problem for me to use them to cross the entire periphery of the secret territory and go to the core area. But I can give you 1 or 2 for free. As for the rest, if you want them, you'll have to buy them at the price of the #1 shop in the world. When the crowd heard this, not only did they not complain, they shouted excitedly, I'll buy it, I'll buy it. I'll buy 10. The mutated soul-sealing talisman is only selling for 1,000 high-grade crystals in the world's #1 shop. It's too cheap. Great God, June, we're willing to pay 10 times the price. Xiao Yinchuan directly stuffed a storage ring full of spar into Mu Yan's hand and affectionately said, Mu Yan, are you short of spar? This young master can give you all the crystal stones on me, as long as you... Before he could finish his words, he is kicked away by Mayan, almost falling straight into the swamp. Chapter 2230. Xiao Yunchuan's subordinates scrambled to pull their young master back. They didn't blame Mayan in the slightest. Instead, they were filled with gratitude. That was because Mayan had received the crystals and given them, and Xiao Yunchuan 10 soul-locking talismans each. Those who received the talismans first burned one and stuck it on their bodies. The rest were carefully hidden in their storage rings. This was their greatest source of survival in the Woodfern's secret realm. Looking at Mayan, who was the center of attention and had even received a large number of crystals, Suloi almost spat out a mouthful of blood. She had wasted so many elixirs and left a hidden danger in her body. She had gained nothing. But what about Mayan? She had thought that she had no more talismans and would be tortured to death by the poison smog. But the result was that Mayan had so many talismans on her that she could scatter them at will. The most infuriating thing was that this slut had shamelessly sold the talismans for money. Not only did these people not complain, they were even grateful. Were these idiots blind? Su Luai gritted her teeth and suddenly turned to the male cultivators beside her. If you want to stay alive in my purple gold barrier, each of you will have to give me 10,000 high-grade crystals. She had thought that she would make such a request. The male cultivators beside her would be as grateful as Mayan's followers and enthusiastically give her the crystals. Who knew that after she finished speaking, there would be a deathly silence? Not a single person responded. Even Deng Wenxuan and the others deliberately averted their gazes, enjoying the scenery around them, as if they hadn't heard anything. Su Luoyi was driven mad. She shouted, "I want each of you to hand over 10,000 high-grade crystals. Do you hear me? If you dare not pay, then get out of here." She shook the purple gold bell violently. This time, Su Luoyi was really angry. She wanted to teach these ungrateful dogs a harsh lesson. However, before she could activate the purple gold bell, suddenly, someone screamed, "Ah, it hurts, it hurts." Immediately after, a few silhouettes fell from midair, directly falling into the death swamp. The cultivators around Su Luoyi were shocked by this scene. When he came back to his senses, he discovered that the purple gold bell's spiritual energy barrier had shrunk by a large margin. Moreover, the spiritual barrier was getting thinner and thinner. The person who had just fallen into the deathly swamp was precisely because he was at the outermost perimeter of the purple gold barrier. The purple gold barrier had shrunk and exposed them to the poisonous swamp, which was why they had lost their lives. Su Luoyi was pleased that these fools had learned their lesson. However, she soon realized that something was wrong. The purple gold bell required more and more spiritual power from her. But the spiritual barrier was getting smaller and thinner. The poison smog from below continued to spread upwards, eroding the spiritual energy barrier. Then the spiritual barrier shrunk, exposing the cultivators again. Ah! The blood-curdling screams made everyone's scalp go numb. Even Mu Yan's people looked over. Looking at the terrified looks on the faces of the male cultivators around Su Luoyi, they shook their heads and sighed. Fortunately, they had chosen to stand on Jun Mo Xie's side. Instead of insulting his idol, he tried to curry favor with Su Luoyi. Otherwise, they would have been part of the group that had fallen into despair. All the male cultivators desperately leaned towards Su Luoyi. No matter how much Su Luoyi yelled at them to get lost, no one listened to her. Chapter 2231. However, even so, the purple gold bell's spiritual power shield has shrunk once again. More than a dozen cultivators have been exposed to the poisonous smog. These people's faces reveal a look of despair. Some of the more timid ones are trembling, tears of fear flowing down their cheeks. Suddenly, someone looks at Mayan and shouts with a face full of hope, "June, great God June, can you give me a variant soul-locking talisman? I'm willing to buy it. I'm willing to spend crystals to buy it." Yes, 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 great God June, we were wrong. 1,000 high-grade crystals, right? We are willing to pay. Please give us a soul-locking talisman. Mayan smiles and says slowly, "If you want to buy a soul-locking talisman, you can." These words are like a life-saving straw, making these cultivators wild with joy. Many people directly take out their crystals and rush towards Mayan. "I want to buy 50, no 100. Mayan looks at the male cultivator, who is the fastest to rush in front of her. She glances at the crystal bill in his hand and sneers. "If you want to buy a soul-locking talisman, are these crystals not enough? My crystal bill has 100,000 crystals, enough to buy 100 of them." The smile on Mayan's face becomes more and more mocking. "Who told you that you want to buy a soul-locking talisman for 1,000 crystals? 100,000 high-grade crystals for one? Do you want it?" When these people hear this, they almost fainted. 100,000 high-grade crystals for one. How? How can it be so expensive? Don't they only want 1,000 high-grade crystals for one? A young girl named Chun Hui next to Mayan spits out her tongue and says, "How can you be the same as us? When you were flattering Su Luoyi, did you feel good cursing Great God June? Do you regret it now? Don't you have to pay the price for regretting it? A few 100,000 high-grade crystals to save a dog's life. It's too cheap for you." After saying that, Chun Hui looks at Mayan with worship. "Great God June, I just remembered the words these people cursed at you. This kid is fine, he only said ugly, so 100,000 high-grade crystals is enough. But for those who cursed, 100,000 crystals is absolutely not enough. Muyan looks at the little girl approvingly and nods. That's right. Then let's do it this way. Let's call this person an ugly freak for 100,000 high-grade crystal stones. Those who scolded first scolded the most, and scolded the most viciously would be scolded 10 times more. If you don't have enough, then take off all your belongings, including your clothes. As she spoke, her gaze once again fell on the male cultivator in front of her. 100,000 high-grade crystals for one. Do you want to buy it? Buy. I'll buy 10. This male cultivator hurriedly took out the crystal stones, fearing that if he was late, the price of his 100,000 crystal stones for a talisman would rise. As for the other cultivators who rushed over to buy the talismans, each and every one of them were on the verge of tears. Someone fiercely slapped himself in the face. Who asked you to have such a cheap mouth? Who asked you to scold me to your heart's content? Now he was not returning the principal with interest, but with compound interest. Xiao Yao Team's Devil Jun Mayan. In the next life, the life after that, they absolutely don't want to provoke her again. Lung Yuma and Luo Yu looked at each other and revealed a tacit smile. Sure enough, little Junior's sister is little Junior's sister. If she doesn't make you spit out everything you owe her, she wouldn't be the head of the Xiao Yao Seven Devils, Jun Mayan. But in fact, although these people had scolded Mayan, their scolding wasn't too excessive. Otherwise, they wouldn't be at the outermost periphery of the purple gold cover. Chapter 2232. Therefore, although it hurts, these people still use enough crystal stones to exchange for the sealing talisman, saving their own lives. On the other side, the purple gold cover is already shrinking. Even if Su Luai takes pills, she can't hold on any longer. Those male cultivators who are left outside the purple gold cover have nowhere to go and can only ask Mayan for help. Even if they have to pay half of their wealth in order to save their lives, they can only accept it. But there is also a fiendish person who doesn't want to have nothing and curses, "Smelly whore, if you don't give it to me, I'll take it myself." After all, Mayan and the other two look like they are only at the first level of nascent soul. It's not impossible to suddenly launch a sneak attack and snatch the sealing talisman when the other cultivators aren't paying attention. However, the result is, of course, tragic. Two of them are directly cut into two by Lung Yuma. And when one half falls into the poisonous swamp, he still has a confused look on his face, not even having the time to struggle and scream. The other three are much more miserable. They are directly hung up by Luo Yu's puppets, sent into the poisonous swamp for a while, and then pulled up again. Not long after, the flesh and blood of these three people have already decayed, leaving only 3 skeletons. The shivering crowd. They originally thought that among the unfettered 7 demons, only murderous god Mayan is terrifying. But now it seems that they were really too naive. Raging Flame's blade and Thousand Hands godly summoner. They are not the least bit better than Mayan. On the other side, Suluoi is going crazy. Jealousy, fear, panic, they are entangling her like maggots on a tarsal bone. The spiritual power barrier that her purple gold bell can form is getting smaller and smaller. However, the speed of absorbing her spiritual power is getting faster and faster. In just such a short time, Suluoi's meridians are damaged in many places because of the overload of spiritual power. There is a tearing pain all over her body. The most frightening thing is that just now, there is a sharp pain coming from her dantian. Then, she is horrified to find that her cultivation has dropped from the peak of nascent soul to the 9th level. Moreover, there is a tendency to continue to fall. Despite paying such a big price, the area that the purple gold bell can protect is getting smaller and smaller. 2 hours ago, the male cultivators who were still surrounding her, like stars surrounding the moon, abandoned her one by one and went to Mayan. These ungrateful bastards. What's so good about that slut, Jun Mayan? Just then, she suddenly hears Deng Wenshuan's voice. We can't wait any longer. Let's go and ask Mayan to buy the talisman. Su Luoi's eyes widened as she looked at Deng Wenshuan in disbelief. Deng Wenshuan didn't even look at her. as if she was air. It was the same for the other students of Longting, who usually praised her as a fairy. They frowned and said worriedly, "We've robbed Junmu, God June. Will they refuse to sell us the soul-locking talismans? Whatever. At worst, I'll just give away all my assets. It's better than waiting for death here." After that, they were about to chase after Mu Yin and the others. They still had a few poison-repelling pills with them. It was still possible for them to prevent themselves from being corroded by the poison smog for a short period of time. At first, the group of people died mainly because they didn't expect the purple gold bell's spiritual energy barrier to suddenly shrink. They were caught off guard and didn't have time to react. "You're not allowed to leave." Seeing that she was going to be the only one left, Su Luoi couldn't help but shout, "Deng Wenxuan, what are you doing? You want to abandon me and go to that slut Junmayan?" Chapter 2233. Deng Wenxuan didn't even spare her a glance, treating her like air. The same went for the other soaring dragon students, who usually treated her like an immortal. They frowned worriedly. "We robbed Junmu, God June. Will they refuse to sell us the talismans? Forget it. At worst, we'll just have to give away all our assets. It's better than waiting for death here." With that, they chased after Mayan's group. They still had a few poison-repelling pills on them. It was still possible for them to prevent themselves from being corroded by the poison smog for a short period of time. At first, they died mainly because they didn't expect the purple gold bell's barrier to suddenly shrink. They were caught off guard and had no time to react. "You're not allowed to leave." Seeing that she was about to be the only one left, Su Luoi couldn't help but shout, "Deng Wenxuan, what are you doing? You're going to abandon me and seek refuge with that slut Junmayan?" Deng Wenxuan looked back at her. However, there wasn't a trace of the usual flattery and infatuation in his eyes, only disgust. "If I don't seek refuge with God June, am I supposed to accompany an ugly freak like you to death?" "What did you say? You call me an ugly freak?" Su Luoi screamed hysterically. "I'm the goddess of soaring dragon, the #1 beauty of the purple cloud realm. How dare you call me an ugly freak?" This time it wasn't just Deng Wenxuan, but the other male cultivators as well. "She actually said she's the #1 beauty of the purple cloud realm? Ah, what a joke." Su Luoi had never been looked at like this before. She was flustered and had a bad premonition. Regaining her composure, she flashed a charming smile and shook the violet gold bell in her hand. "Deng Wenxuan, as long as you're willing to stay by my side, I'll guarantee your safety. Once we're out of the Woodfern's secret realm, I'll promise to do anything you want of me." Su Luoi was unwilling, but she believed that if she made such a promise, these men would definitely be wild with joy. Sex and soul bestowal. What Junmayan? Bah, how could that slut be mentioned in the same breath as his charm? Su Luoi waited for Deng Wenxuan to show an infatuated expression and run to her like a dog, wagging his tail and begging for her favor. However, Deng Wenxuan laughed out loud. "You'll agree to whatever I want to do to you? Bah, even if you agree, I won't agree. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? With that disgusting face of yours, you dare to compare yourself with June Mayan. We were really blind in the past to think of this trash and ugly as the dragon goddess." The few of them spat a few times, then hurriedly chased after Mu Yin. Su Luoi was left standing on the spot with a stiff expression. After a long while, he took out a bronze mirror from his storage ring in a fluster. Looking at herself in the mirror, Su Luoi's eyes widened, and she let out an earth-shattering scream. Impossible! This isn't me! Not me! Little junior sister, you've gotten back at those cultivators who cursed you with interest. But what about Su Luoi, the instigator? Are you going to let her off just like that?" Mu Yin smiled and looked at Lung Yuma. "Luo, you giggled. Those who provoke 6th senior sister still want to have a good ending? Aren't they dreaming? 4th senior sister, why don't you think about what kind of person 6th senior sister is?" Chapter 2234. Hehehe, when Sixth Sister becomes ruthless, she's not human at all? Ouch! Mu Yin retracts her hand from Luo Yu's forehead and turns to look at the poisonous marsh in the distance. Her mouth hooks up into a lazy smile. Doesn't this goddess, Su, like to attract other people's attention? I believe that for the rest of her life, with that face, she will get what she wants. During this time, Mu Yin has been refining pills with her ninth master and has refined a lot of strange elixirs. If these elixirs were to be sold, she would definitely get a lot of crystal stones. Unfortunately, ninth master's eccentric temperament would never allow her to sell imperfect elixirs. Since Mu Yin has promised ninth master, she won't go against him. But today, in order to deal with Su Luoi, she used one of the bone-eroding pills. Unexpectedly, the effect is unexpectedly good. The powder of the bone-eroding pill silently invades the purple gold cover. It swallows Su Luoi's spiritual power bit by bit and stains the purple gold bell, greatly reducing its effectiveness. In the end, it can't even maintain a spiritual power cover with a radius of half a meter. Of course, the effect of the bone-eroding pill is not limited to this. The powder formed by the bone-eroding pill will swallow a lot of spiritual power and will invade Su Luoi's body along with her spiritual power. As Su Luoi's spiritual power output gets faster and faster, her meridians will be damaged. The bone-eroding powder will also leave a black mark on her meridians. It will also swallow her flesh little by little. Although Mu Yin hasn't seen Su Luoi's current appearance, she can imagine it. It must be skinny, with sunken eye sockets and all the blue veins protruding all over her body. The key point is that these blue veins are not light blue, but black and red in disorder. TSK. That appearance is definitely not much better looking than a malicious ghost. She doesn't know how Su Luoi, who pays the most attention to her appearance and calls herself the #1 beauty, would feel when she sees her in this state. Mu Yin only thinks about this for a while before throwing it to the back of her mind. A clown like Su Luoi wasn't worthy of her spending too much time and effort on. The most important thing for her now is to enter the core area and survive. The second is to find the scum who dares to treat tens of thousands of lives as the best. Right at this moment, someone suddenly shouted, "Quick look! That's the barrier leading to the core region." Ah, we're saved. We're finally alive. The barrier fluctuated, and the hundreds of cultivators felt the world spinning around them. Then they all fell into an empty space. In an instant, the stench that had filled the tip of his nose disappeared without a trace. What replaced it was fresh air and dense spiritual energy that made one feel comfortable. Everyone looked around and saw a huge valley in front of them. There was also a beautiful lake in the middle of the valley. Around the lake, there were quite a few cultivators who were either strolling around or bending over to wash themselves. They blinked their eyes and blinked again and again. A wave of sorrow and joy from surviving the end of their lives surged up, causing many people's eyes to turn red. This is the core area of the secret land. We survived. We really survived. All of this is thanks to the great God June. Where are the great God June and the others? The crowd, who had been wild with joy for a long time, came back to their senses, only to discover that June Mayan, Lung Yuma, and Luo Yu were nowhere to be seen. Chapter 2235. Junior Sister, why are you in such a hurry? Did you find what you were looking for? Lung Yuma couldn't help but ask as the three of them flew through the air. Mayan nods her head. In her eyes that have always been leisurely, there's a rare sense of urgency this time. The moment they entered the core region of the Woodfern's secret realm, Mu Yin heard Qi Huang's urgent voice. I sensed it. June Mu Yin. It's the aura of the scarlet blaze gold to the northeast. Hurry! Mu Yin had entered the Woodfern's secret realm for the scarlet blaze gold and the profound ghost wood. Now that she had news of it, how could she stop? Following Qi Huang's directions, the three of them soon arrived at a narrow valley. However, as soon as they reached the entrance, they were blocked by a barrier. Two tall and skinny men walked out, glaring at the three of them. The Heaven Reflection sect is conducting business here. No one is allowed to enter. Mu Yin furrowed her brows and sneered. Does this secret realm belong to your family? Do you really think you can't enter just because you say so? The two of them narrowed their eyes, a fierce expression on their faces. Just then, a hand reaches out from behind mine and the other two, pulling them back. Little girls, are you crazy? That's the barrier set up by the Heaven Reflection sect. Do you want to barge in? The three of them turned around and saw that the one pulling them was a middle-aged female cultivator. She looked ordinary, but her cultivation was high, at least in the 9th stage of nascent soul. But unlike other high-level female cultivators, she exuded a peaceful aura. Only a trace of worry could be seen between her brows. Luo, you couldn't help but ask, Big sister, what kind of sect is the Heaven Reflection sect? Is it very powerful? The middle-aged female cultivator looked at Luo Yu. The youth had a handsome face, clear eyes, and a pair of dimples when he smiled. He was indescribably cute, making people want to dote on him. Then, she looked at Mu Yin and Lung Yuma. Putting aside Mu Yan's stunning appearance, Lung Yuma was also valiant and formidable. The middle-aged female cultivator sighed. Which sect are you kids from? You're young and ignorant. Why would your parents let you come to such a dangerous place like the Woodfern Secret Realm? The Heaven Jin sect is one of the top sects in the Purple Cloud domain. Don't you know how powerful they are? The three of them looked at each other with innocent expressions on their faces. Mu Yin asked, why did the Heavenly Jin School seal off this valley? The middle-aged female cultivator pondered for a moment. Originally, she didn't want to talk too much with them, but seeing how ignorant and naive the three of them were, in the end, he could not bear to see her like this. Lowering his voice, he said, you should have heard that profound ghostwood and scarlet blaze gold will appear when the Woodfern's secret realm opens, right? Mu Yan's pupils contracted as she looked at Luo Yu and Lung Yuma. The middle-aged female cultivator continued, although the Heaven Jin sect's combat prowess is not the best in the Purple Cloud realm, it is definitely one of the best artifact refining families. At least half of the grade 8 and 9 spiritual tools on the market were forged by the Heaven Mirror sect. I heard that the profound ghost wood and the scarlet flame gold are two peerless treasures for refining weapons. The ancestor of the Heaven Jin sect once said that as long as they could get their hands on these two treasures, they would be able to refine real divine weapons. This time, it can be said that the Heaven Jin sect is determined to get their hands on these two treasures. They even sent a large number of people into the Woodfern's secret realm, including at least 3 leaving Aperture Realm cultivators. Chapter 2236. At least 3 leaving body stage cultivators? Mu Yin frowns. If there was only one, she could deal with it. But there were 3. Even with the help of her triple domain and the Tian Mo Qin, she might not be able to deal with them. Fourth sister and Xiao Qi are now in the middle of Gold Core stage. They have no problem dealing with cultivators below the 9th level of Nascent Soul stage. But against a real peak Nascent Soul stage expert, they will be in a tough battle. If they fight against a leaving body stage cultivator, even if they can survive, they will be seriously injured. The middle-aged female cultivator sees that the 3 of them have an ugly expression. She can't help but sigh. You also want to go to the Demon Ape Cave to pick the fire orchid, right? Alas, you should give up. It will cost you your lives. When saying this, the anxiety on the middle-aged female cultivator's face becomes heavier. She even faintly shows some despair. The fire orchid is a kind of life-saving medicine that can cure cold poison. Mu Yan's heart slightly moves. She looks at the middle-aged female cultivator and warmly says, thank you for reminding me. May I know your name? The middle-aged female cultivator smiles. What name? I'm just a useless loose cultivator. My name is Chung Mei. Everyone calls me Mei Nyang. Sister Mei Nyang, do you want a fire orchid? Luo Yu asks. Chung Mei shows a trace of a bitter smile. She seems to want to say something, but finally shakes her head. Don't think about it. You can't get it now. If the heavens bless us, we can wait until the people of Heaven Jian's sect get the treasure. Maybe there is a chance. Saying that, she anxiously urges Mu Yin and the others. You should also go to other places. If you are really targeted by Heaven Jian's sect, your lives will be in danger. Mu Yin and the others don't argue with Cheng Mei. After thanking her for her kindness, they quickly leave and fly to a mountain peak where they can observe the valley entrance. Junior sister, what should we do? Lung Yuma is eager to try. Should we directly kill these gatekeepers and rush in to grab the treasure? Mu Yin, killing these people is easy, but the array that covers the entire valley is not simple. The person who can drive this array must have a very strong cultivation. I am afraid I am not their opponent. If we rush in and alert the enemy, we will be in trouble. Luo Yu wrinkled her nose and said, Then what should we do? Could it be that Sixth Senior Sister wants to watch them snatch away the Scarlet Flame Gold and Profound Ghostwood? Mu Yin sneers faintly. Of course not. The Scarlet Flame Gold and Profound Ghostwood are mine. With that, she flipped her wrist, and a reddish-brown talisman appeared in her palm. What talisman is this? I don't think it was drawn by you, junior sister. Mayan nods. This is the concealing aura talisman that junior martial uncle gave me. It can restrain all the fluctuations of a person's aura, including spiritual power, breathing, and smell. As long as I stick this aura concealment talisman on it, it will be equivalent to fusing with the air and vanishing without a trace. Even a formation won't be able to detect me. Unfortunately, little martial uncle only gave me one of these aura concealing talismans. Mu Yin is a little depressed. Before Luo Yunxiao left, she had given her a huge pile of talismans and cultivation manuals. However, these talismans were not for her to use, but for her to study and observe. This aura concealment talisman is one of them. It is also the most complicated and difficult to learn of all the talismans. At that time, Mu Yin was busy every day. She didn't even have time to refine pills or cultivate, so she didn't have time to learn how to draw the aura concealment talisman. Now that she has to use it, she finds out that there is only one of it. Chapter 22:37. It would take at least 3 days to draw up an aura-concealing talisman. Even if Mu Yin were to learn and draw on the spot, it would still be too late. By the time she finished drawing the 3 pieces, the Heaven Jin sect might have already taken the red flame gold and the black ghostwood away. There was only one aura-concealing talisman, which meant that it would be gone after it was used. It also meant that Luo Yu and Lung Yuma could not follow her in. Meeting the two people's aggrieved eyes, Mayan repeatedly promised, Next time we see Xiao Shishu, we must swindle a few more. Lung Yuma and Luo Yu were speechless. You're the only one who has the guts to say something like, scamming young martial uncle a few more times. Even if we had 100 guts, we wouldn't dare. At the entrance of the valley, a few cultivators wearing the uniform of the Heavensight sect were patrolling back and forth. Suddenly, a flaming saber chi whizzed over like a rainbow, piercing through the sun. One of the cultivators was hit head-on. A large hole appeared in his abdomen, and he died instantly. Who is it? The thin and tall man who had just stepped forward to stop Mu Yin and the other two shouted. What greeted him was a flaming saber slashing down. But this time, everyone was prepared, so no one was hacked to death. However, the curling flames and the sharp saber moves caused everyone to panic. An arrogant voice came from the sky. Idiots from the Tianjin school. How dare you block my way? I will teach you a lesson. Come and chase me if you can. The two tall and skinny men looked at each other. One of them had a scar on his face. He gritted his teeth and said, I don't know where this bastard came from. How dare she provoke our Tianjin school? Wu Yong, you guard the entrance of the valley. Wait for me to kill her. With that, the man waved his hand and led a group of people to charge out. The tall and thin man called Wu Yong scanned the surroundings with his eagle-like eyes and continued to guard the entrance of the valley. At this moment, he suddenly heard a soft, rustling sound. Then, screams rang out one after another. The surrounding cultivators of Heaven Jian sect suddenly felt an itch and pain on their legs. When they looked down, they found that their legs were crawling with small insects. These bugs were only half the size of a thumb, but they were extremely ferocious. Every time it bit down on their legs, it could bite off a large piece of meat. Hundreds of bugs gnawed at them, and the legs of these people were immediately drenched in blood. Wu Yong also had bugs crawling on his body, but his spiritual power was strong and his killing intent was strong. He only needed to circulate his spiritual power to shake the bugs, and they all fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Only then did Wu Yong realize that something was wrong. This wasn't a worm at all, but a puppet. Wu Yong was shocked. Puppet? How is this possible? How could someone control over 1,000 puppets at once? Even if these puppets were very small, how strong and vigorous a person's divine sense must be to be able to divide into thousands of strands and simultaneously control the movements of the puppets. Wu Yong was shocked and angry, and he could hear the screams of his disciples from time to time. Although these puppets couldn't bite people to death, they could cause extreme pain. Moreover, this kind of behavior was basically a provocation to the Heaven Jian sect. Wu Yong's eyes were filled with ferocity. Spiritual energy surged from his body as he released his divine sense. Soon, he found the way to control these puppets by following the spiritual threads attached to them. Chase them. How dare they provoke our Heaven Jian sect? I will tear this bastard into pieces. The disciples of Heaven Jian sect had suffered the pain of being bitten by countless small puppets, and they already hated the person who controlled these puppets to the core. Baidu search, UC Book League website, and you can experience the latest and fastest chapters. All the chapters are updated in seconds. Chapter 2238. As soon as they heard Wu Yong's words, their hatred turned into a towering rage. They followed Wu Yong without hesitation. Wu Yong had wanted to leave 2 cultivators behind to guard the entrance, but the disciples of the Heaven Jian sect were too eager for revenge. None of them wanted to stay. Wu Yong thought about how powerful the barrier was and didn't force it. With this barrier in place, even a leaving Aperture Realm cultivator wouldn't be able to pass through in a short time. Even if they did, Elder Yu would be alerted. As long as they finished the battle quickly and killed the bandits, everything would be fine. However, Wu Yong didn't know that not long after they left, a figure slowly landed in front of the barrier. She looked at the barrier in front of her and smiled. She pinched a talisman in her hand and slowly activated it. In an instant, the girl's figure rippled like water and melted into the air. Mu Yin smiled and walked into the barrier as if she was taking a leisurely stroll. The barrier didn't show any signs of abnormality. The Heaven Jin sect had set up a tight barrier and guards outside the valley. But after entering the valley, Mu Yin found that the guards didn't relax at all. Instead, they were getting tighter and tighter. If it weren't for Mu Yin's speed and the concealing talisman, she would have been discovered long ago. Did the Heaven Jin sect send all of their disciples to the Woodfern's secret realm? Along the way, she had already encountered quite a few peak-stage nascent soul cultivators. Furthermore, they weren't like Su Loi, who was just an embroidered pillow. They had fought their way through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Each peak nascent soul cultivator led a team of 10 people. They formed a formation, moving around and coordinating with each other. There were no flaws. Mu Yin had thought of killing her way in to steal the treasures. But now she gave up. The peak nascent soul cultivators of the Heaven Jin sect were comparable to ordinary leaving Aperture Realm cultivators. Unless she was crazy, she wouldn't try to steal from them. Mu Yin hid in the dark and observed for a while. She found that these people were guarding a cave. Around the cave, the temperature rose sharply. From time to time, flames would burst out. When the flames fell to the ground, they would burn a large patch of grass and create a hole. Therefore, the surroundings of the cave were completely bare. There were almost no plants or living beings. Even the cultivators from the Heaven Jin sect didn't dare to get too close. However, there were a few tiny red flowers growing around the cave entrance. That was the fire leaf orchid that Cheng Mei wanted. That should be the molten cave demon ape's cave. Qi Huang, are the scarlet flame gold and mysterious ghostwood inside? Seven Brilliance said, I sensed the aura of the scarlet flame gold, but there was no profound ghostwood. Mu Yin, whatever, let's take the scarlet flame gold first. She took out a pill from her space and stared at the entrance of the cave, waiting patiently. About a quarter of an hour later, there was a cracking sound in the cave. A ball of flame splashed out. The cultivators of Heaven Jin sect hurriedly took a step back. Mu Yin, on the other hand, did not retreat, but instead advanced. She scuttled out of the bushes where she was hiding, and suddenly threw out the pill in her hand. In the next moment, a thick cloud of smoke rose from the cave entrance. It was accompanied by the pungent smell of sulfur. Cough, cough, cough. What's going on? Why is the flame making such a big noise this time? It must be Elder Yu and the others inside, fighting with the demon ape. Under the cover of the smoke, Mu Yin silently entered the cave. Baidu search, UC Book League website, let you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all updated in seconds. Chapter 2239. As soon as she enters, a scorching aura hits her in the face. Like raindrops, sweat rushes out from her forehead, instantly drenching her clothes. If she could use a black ice talisman, she could quickly be rescued from this blazing hell. But the problem is, she can't use talismans or elixirs on herself while using the concealing talisman. Otherwise, her whereabouts will soon be discovered. Mine grits her teeth and steps inside. Not long after, there are sounds of fighting and cursing coming from inside. This damn devil ape, we've tried everything, but there's no way to make it leave the lava pool. This also proves that the scarlet flame gold must be in this lava pool. As long as we kill this devil ape, or delay it for a moment, the scarlet flame gold will be ours. Mayan restrains her breath, hides behind a boulder, and sticks her head out to look ahead. She sees a huge blood-red pool in the center of the cave. The pool isn't filled with water, but boiling lava. If an ordinary cultivator were to fall into such a pool, it would only take a breath for them to be completely burned to ashes. Not even the dregs of their bones would be left. But at this time, there's a huge devil ape fighting with three middle-aged men in the lava pool. These three middle-aged men are wearing ice attribute armors that can withstand the blazing heat of the lava. And that devil ape is born with the lava attribute, so it's not afraid of blazing flames. One beast and three people fight into a ball, and from time to time, violent sounds erupt. Around the lava pool, there are many nascent soul cultivators dressed in Heaven Jin sex attire. They're holding a long diamond net, constantly fishing into the lava pool. But it's clear that the thing they want is in the middle of the lava pool. Therefore, it's useless to fish at the edge. Once someone tries to approach, they'll be slapped into the lava pool by the devil ape's giant palm. It's the aura of the scarlet flame gold. Qi Huang eagerly says, it's in the middle of the lava pool. Jun Mayan, quickly release the Tian Mo Qin. It will automatically absorb the scarlet flame gold. Mayan probes the space with her divine sense. Sure enough, the quiet Tenu Qin once again plays on its own, humming as if it wants to fly out. Mu Yin shook her head. What's the hurry? If I release the Tian Mo Qin now and take the flame gold, which one of these two sides will let me go? I might as well wait for them to mutually injure each other and then reap the benefits. Saying that, he doesn't care about the urgency of Qi Huang and Tian Mo Qin. He turned around and observed his surroundings. She was overjoyed when she looked at it. So many fire leaf orchids. So many dazzling fire crystals. So many natural treasures. This devil ape clearly loved to collect treasures, but the people of the Heaven Jin sect were focused on the scarlet blaze gold, so no one bothered to search for the devil ape's belongings. Therefore, these priceless items were actually displayed here without anyone wanting them. Mu Yin rubbed her hands, her eyes sparkling. This trip to the Woodfriend's secret realm had really netted her a fortune. The military expenses of the Netherflame army? Give me as much as you want. What? An 8th grade alchemy furnace is very precious? In the future, I will use one to smash one. Mayan bends her waist and noiselessly moves forward. Every time she passes by a fire leaf orchid, she extends her hand and directly puts it into her space. Further ahead were obsidian fire crystals, mysterious dragon fruit, 10,000 willwood. Heavens, they're actually all 8th grade elixirs and spiritual woods. There are also the skeletons and Yao cores of 9th grade vicious beasts. Chapter 2240. Was this devil ape a collector? He had actually collected so many treasures. The more Mu Yin collected, the happier she was. He did not notice that the demonic ape, who was fighting with the 3 from the Heaven Jin sect, was roaring furiously in the lava pool. Its attacks were getting fiercer and fiercer. How could Mu Yin know? It wasn't that the people of the Heaven Jin sect didn't notice the treasures of the devil ape. It wasn't that he didn't have time to take it. It was because they knew that once they touched the treasures of the devil ape would go berserk and increase the difficulty of obtaining the scarlet blaze gold. Therefore, he had ordered that no one from the Heaven Jin sect was allowed to touch the devil ape's treasure. But how would they know? Not even a fly could enter the cave, which was sealed by the Heaven's Mirror's door handle. But a little thief had sneaked in without a sound. At this moment, this thief was testing the edge of the devil ape's berserk state. Blood essence beads. The devil ape even has them. My 9th master asked me to refine one of the elixirs, and it just so happens that I need it. Damn, so many inky leaf lotuses. This is a 9th grade elixir. Take it all, take it all. Qi Huang sees that his clean space is filled to the brim with the garbage that Mu Yin threw in. He can't help but angrily say, Jun Mu Yin, what are you doing? Who told you to throw so much trash in here? As Mu Yin nimbly collected the treasures, she replied unhurriedly, There's nothing I can do. All the storage rings I brought are filled. Other than empty spaces, where else can I put them? Qi Xiao Huang, you dare to throw them away. If you lose my treasure, I won't take the scarlet flame gold anymore. Qi Huang is so angry that he's half dead. Jun Mayan, this is all you've got. Just a little bit of junk, and you treat it like this. Don't go out and say that you're the owner of the Tian Mo Qin. Mayan rolls her eyes. I'd like to say that I'm the master of the Tian Mo Qin, but the problem is, can I say it? 1 or 2 of your previous masters are now tool spirits, using the Tian Mo Qin to make so many enemies. If I say that I'm the master of the Tian Mo Qin, wouldn't that be courting death? She snapped. So what if it's trash? If you have the ability, then don't exchange these trash for Jingshur in the future. 7 Brilliance was speechless. Just then, Mu Yin picked up another wooden stick. As soon as his hand touched it, he felt a disgusting stickiness. What followed was a pungent smell. Mu Yin almost vomits out last night's meal. Almost instinctively, she wanted to throw the stick away. However, when she probed it with her spiritual sense, she found that her spiritual sense could not penetrate the wooden stick. Huh? It didn't seem to be an ordinary item? Forget it. No matter what it is, I'll just throw it in first. What if it was a treasure that could be sold for a good price? Mu Yin casually tosses the smelly stick into the space. However, in the next moment, she hears Qi Huang's cry of pain. Jun Mayan, you idiot woman, you've hit Ben Zun? So what if I hit him? Isn't it just a piece of broken wood? Don't tell me you can't be disfigured. Qi Xiao Wang, you're a man, don't be so wishy-washy. Qi Huang flew into a rage. You bastard, bastard, your rod is still so smelly. You dare to hit me with such a disgusting thing. Jun Mayan, you're tired of living? Suddenly, Qi Huang's voice stopped abruptly and turned into a bewildered cry. What's wrong now? The space was quiet. After a long while, Qi Huang's indescribable voice could be heard. Jun Mayan, what kind of dog's it luck do you have, woman? HM? Mu Yin was puzzled. What do you mean? Chapter 2241. Suddenly, her expression also changes, and her eyes slowly widen. Chi Huangyu, you were just hit? Humph, you finally found out? I'll go. Mine almost jumps up in shock. What is that wood? Could it be? Although Chi Huang is unhappy, he still coldly snorts. If it wasn't one of the materials of the Tianimo Qin, do you think a mere piece of broken wood could hit this sage? Mysterious ghost wood. Mine gasps. That's mysterious ghost wood? She actually found mysterious ghost wood so easily? Well, now even she herself is wondering if she had run into some kind of dog shit luck. She just randomly picked up a treasure and picked up mysterious ghost wood. Would anyone believe it if she said it out loud? Could it be that Xiao Bao's heaven-defying luck has infected her? Then if she continues to pick it up, will she also pick up the scarlet flame gold? Just as this thought flashes through her mind, suddenly, an earth-shattering roar comes from the blood pool not far away. Blazing flames, accompanied by swift and fierce attacks, madly attack Mayan's direction. The three elders of the Heaven Jian sect are caught off guard. They simply didn't expect that the devil ape would suddenly go berserk. The three people are hit by the fireball and fly back more than 10 meters away, spitting out mouthfuls of blood. The devil ape simply doesn't care about these three old opponents. Instead, it soars into the air and floats above the blood pool, throwing punches in Mayan's direction. The angry roar is deafening. The fireballs wrapped in rocks come raining down like a rain of fire. Mayan inwardly cries out, no longer caring about hiding her traces. She pulls off the concealing talisman on her body and runs the lotus-blooming steps to escape. At this time, the people of the Heaven Jian sect finally discover Mayan's existence. Where did this little thief come from, daring to behave atrociously under the eyes of the Heaven Jian sect? One of the three elders is even more surprised. How did you pass through my great tortoise array without being detected? At this time, Mayan has no time to answer them. She is in a difficult situation dodging the devil ape's crazy attacks. This time, the unlucky one isn't her, but the disciples of the Heaven Jian sect. Even though the magic ape's fireballs were concentrated, Mayan's lotus-blooming step-by-step had also reached its limit. Therefore, the fireballs that fell like rain did not even burn a corner of her clothes. However, the cave was only so big. If the fireball couldn't hit her, it would hit somewhere else, right? Therefore, the disciples of the Heaven Jian sect who were scattered around were naturally affected. The three elders of the Heaven Jian sect were furious when they saw that their men had been killed. They shouted, "Little thief, if you don't surrender now, don't blame us for being impolite." Just as Mayan is about to curse an old thief in the midst of her busy schedule, she hears Chi Huang's anxious voice. She was stunned. She looked at the devil ape, and her body also froze for a moment. A fireball flew over and almost hit her. Mu Yin awkwardly dodged the attack. Seeing that the people of Heaven Jian School were about to attack her, she suddenly shouted, "I'm an assistant musician, and I'm the most powerful assistant musician in the world. Why don't we cooperate? I'll help you get rid of the devil ape, and everything in the lava pool will belong to you. The corpse and treasures of the devil ape will belong to me. What do you think?" The three elders of the Heaven Jian sect stared blankly. Elder Yu, who was in the middle, sneered, "The most powerful assistant musician in the world, little girl? Where did you get the confidence to boast like that? Aren't you afraid that the wind is too strong and your tongue will be cut?" Chapter 2242. Mu Yin smiles, and with a ghostly step, her figure is like quicksilver flowing on the ground, illusory and beautiful. The demon ape's fireball clearly hits the figure, but there's no flesh and blood splattering. Instead, the figure dissipates like an illusion. Almost at the same time, the melodious sound of a zither resounds in the cave. Then, something miraculous happens. The three elders of the Heaven Jian sect have just fought against the demon ape and consumed a lot of their spiritual power. But in the sound of the zither, the spiritual power within their bodies begins to gradually recover. Not to mention the other disciples of the Heaven Jian sect. The wounds on their bodies heal at a speed visible to the naked eye, and their originally dried-up spiritual power gradually recovers. On the other hand, the demon ape's berserk transformation is originally as abundant as a volcanic eruption. But in the sound of the zither, it seems to be bound by something, gradually showing a trace of decline. The faces of the three elders of the Heaven Jin sect are simply more shocked than if they've seen a ghost. Mayan floats in the air, her hands gently fiddling with the Tian Mo Chin. She leisurely says, "The great General Feng won't bite his tongue, so you don't need to worry about it. You only need to tell me, do you agree to this deal?" Saying that, her hands stop, and the sound of the zither abruptly stops. That mysterious feeling immediately disappears. The dantian that was just filled up a little immediately becomes empty. Everyone in the Heaven Jin sect only feels unspeakably uncomfortable. The three elders look at each other and see the shock in each other's eyes. Our ice armors have almost been consumed, but the demon ape is still full of demonic power. If we continue to waste it like this, I'm afraid that our Heaven Jin sect will suffer heavy losses. On the contrary, with this little girl's assistance, we will get twice the result with half the effort. For us, only the scarlet flame gold and the mysterious ghost wood are the most important. Humph, it's just the corpse of the demon ape and elixirs. Just give it to her. At worst, we'll take it back. The three of them secretly transmit their voices for a while. Finally, Elder Yu vaguely makes a kill gesture, then looks at Mayan with a warm smile. "I wonder what this young lady's name is? Which sex disciple is she? This young lady has such an auxiliary ability. Forgive me for being ignorant and inexperienced, but I've never seen it before." Before Mayan can answer, she suddenly hears a Heaven Jin sect disciple loudly say, "Elder Yu, she's Jun Mayan, a member of the Xiao Yao squad that made a big splash at the Deer Ming banquet." Jun Mayan? Elder Yu was taken aback. He just happened to hear this name some time ago. It was said that he was the most talented, most powerful, and most heaven-defying assistant zither player in the history of Cultivation Continent. However, when Elder Yu heard of it, he immediately threw the news to the back of his mind. The most heaven-defying assistant zither master? No matter how heaven-defying she was still just a little girl in the Jindan stage. What could she achieve? But it had only been a month since the Deer Cry banquet, and Jun Mayan had already reached the nascent soul stage and entered the Woodfern's secret realm. Elder Yu was bewildered, but before he could ask any more questions, Zhang Xian suddenly interrupted him. Without the graceful feather restraining it, the demonic ape roared again and plunged its palms into the lava pool, creating a huge wave. Sparks and lava splashed everywhere. The disciples of the Heaven Jin sect fled in panic. At this time, the devil ape had already gone completely mad. He no longer chased after Mu Yin, but swore to tear apart all of these flea humans who had invaded his cave and stolen his treasures, and then burn them all with flames. The expressions of Elder Yu and the other two changed. Without any hesitation, they said, "All right, I promise you. We implore Miss June to lend us a hand." Chapter 2243. Mayan smiles faintly, her fingers plucking the strings again. "I hope we can have a pleasant cooperation. Outside the demonic ape's cave, the Heaven Jin sect is diligently guarding it." Unexpectedly, the ground suddenly trembles and countless sparks splashes out. Everyone is startled, retreating again and again. What's going on? Why are there suddenly so many fireballs splashing out? I heard the demonic apes roar. Is it going berserk? It can't be. The elders will be fine, right? In the midst of panic, the sparks suddenly stop splashing out, and the demonic ape's roar also becomes much weaker. It is replaced by the melodious sound of a zither. Why is there a zither sound? And it seems to be played by a musician with auxiliary skills? Does our Heaven Jin sect have auxiliary musicians? Everyone looks at each other, seeing the doubt on each other's faces. Before they can figure out why there is a sudden sound of a zither, fireball suddenly splashes out like a meteor shower. Bang, bang, bang. This time, it's not just rubble wrapped in flames, but huge lava rocks. The people guarding the entrance are so scared that they flee several hundred meters away from being burnt to ashes by these fireballs. The entire valley trembles violently. The originally lush green grassland, the spiritual herbs and flowers growing on it, are instantly scorched by these meteor shower of fireballs. Such violent tremors continue for more than half an hour before it slowly subsides. The demonic ape's roar turns into whimpers. But because the roars and rumbles have disappeared, the melodious music becomes more distinct. The Heaven Jian sect's disciples finally can't help it, and a few people carefully go inside. Hao Jixin is an outstanding disciple of the younger generation of the Heaven Jian sect. He's not even 40 years old, but he's already an expert at the peak of the nascent soul stage. Therefore, this time, the sect leader has given him the responsibility of guarding the demonic ape's cave. Now, there is a strange movement in the cave, and there is an unfamiliar sound of a zither. Hao Jixin is worried, so he personally leads a few of his junior brothers into the cave. When the scene in the cave comes into view, Hao Jixin and the others show an incredulous expression. In the lava pool in the center of the cave, the demonic ape is already covered with cuts and bruises, and its cries are full of pain. However, the three elders of the Heaven Jian sect were not much better off. The ice armors on their bodies were almost completely damaged. There were burn marks all over his skin. Many disciples of the Heavenly Jian school were lying on the ground. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. But the first thing that attracted Hao Jixin and the others' attention was not the scene of the fierce battle. Instead, it was a young girl who was floating in midair and slowly playing the zither. In the blazing cavern, the girl's face could not be seen clearly. However, that ethereal, fairy-like feeling made him unconsciously stunned, attracted, and even fascinated. Hao Jixin's heart skipped a beat as he asked in a low voice, Who is this lady? When did you come in? The people around him shook their heads. However, it was obvious that this young lady was helping the Heaven Jian sect. Along with the sound of the zither, one could vaguely see the girl's pale face and the beads of sweat on her forehead. The sound of the zither rang in their ears, but it was rapidly replenishing the spiritual power in their bodies and healing the injuries on their bodies. Senior brother, what should we do? Are you going to help the elders? Hao Jixin hesitated for a moment and was about to answer. Chapter 2244. Suddenly, the devil ape in the lava pool seems to realize that it can no longer escape. It lets out an earth-shattering roar, and its body suddenly sprang up from the lava pool, heading straight for Mayan in the air. At the same time, blazing flames burst from its body, mixed with a momentum that can destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth. Hao Jixin subconsciously exclaims, "Watch out!" Elder Yu and the other two naturally see this scene. The three of them look at each other, but they don't make a move. Instead, their eyes reveal a gloating complacency. The devil ape's whole body is spewing fire, obviously preparing to detonate the Yao Dan in its body. That little girl definitely can't escape this. But this is for the best. This Mayan has eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. She actually dares to break into their Heaven Jian sect's encirclement, and even wants a share of the loot from their hands. She's simply overestimating herself. Dying under the devil ape's self-detonation can be considered her deserved end. As for the treasures collected by the devil ape, they naturally belong to their Heaven Jian sect. The three elders put down the weapons in their hands, quietly waiting for the moment when Mayan is killed. However, facing the devil ape's surprise attack, Mayan's face doesn't have the slightest trace of fear. Instead, her slightly pale face hooks up into a smile that has long been within her expectations. The next moment, the Tian Mo Chin in her hand suddenly disappears, replaced by a glittering and translucent sword. Mayan's figure somersaults in the air, and the tip of her foot touches the devil ape's head. Oh! The devil ape roars, stretching out its flaming claws to grab her. It's all because of this ant that it has fallen to this point. It was so close to success. It wants to kill this ant. Let it be buried with it. Bang! A ruthless fist smashes into the devil ape's forehead, but the expected scene of the ant being flattened did not appear. As soon as the fiery fist falls, Mayan has already soared into the air again. Then she raises her head and bends down. The glittering and translucent seven absolutes sword is grasped in her hand, and she fiercely thrusts it forward. Poochie! The invincible seven absolutes sword directly pierces the devil ape's heart. The remaining spiritual power in her body is converted into the ice attribute, and all of it is poured into the devil ape's body. Crack! 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 Half of the demonic ape's body, which was about to explode, was frozen into ice. It opened its bell-like eyes wide and unwillingly fell to the ground from midair, losing its breath. Mayan's figure slowly floated down from the sky, stepping on the demon ape's corpse. The corners of his mouth curled up, forming a lazy and evil smile. The deal is done. I will gladly accept the corpse of the demonic ape. With a wave of her hand, the demonic ape's corpse disappeared. The entire cavern was dead silent. Only the bubbling sound of the lava pool could be heard from time to time. All the disciples and elders of the Heaven Jian sect widened their eyes and stared at the girl in front of them as if she was a monster. They were speechless for a long time. Mu Yin smiles faintly, then, "We'll meet again someday. Everyone from the Heaven Jian sect, take good care of your treasures. I will take my leave now." Before anyone could react, he turned around and walked out of the cave. When he passed by Hao Jixin subconsciously reached out his hand. "Wait a minute." Mu Yin turned around and looked at him with a smile that was not a smile. "What? Does the Heaven Jian sect want to go back on their word?" This time, she's closer, and Hao Jixin could clearly see the girl's appearance. He immediately sucked in a mouthful of cold air. His whole person seemed to have gone silly, and he hesitantly withdrew his hand. "You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.